Chapter 433. Currently there were only about 300 people in the hall. Upon hearing the shouts from outside, Dongbua Shuang stood up and walked towards the entrance of the hall. As soon as he reached the entrance, Dongbua Shuang saw countless deities looking in his direction. It's coming. This is the first time I'll reveal my true abilities in the deity world. Dongbua Shuang stepped out of the hall and onto the golden pathway. Dongbua. Dongbua. Countless deities who had come to watch the Starfield selections turned their gazes towards him. Who's Dongbua? He seems to be quite famous. He whipped the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master with his heart-branding whip in public. What? You don't even know who he is? You should know about the patrolling army, right? A small patrolling army team attacked Dongbua, but they were easily defeated. No matter how powerful the patrolling army team is, they can't compare to the fierce shaman warrior. Defeating a patrolling army team doesn't mean he'll win. The fierce shaman warrior is indeed powerful, but I think Dongbua should be able to win. Countless deities discussed among themselves. Dongbua Shuang was quite famous among the participants. Everyone believed that he had a high chance of passing the Starfield selections, but he could also fail. After all, even if the fierce shaman warrior was split into 12, any one of them would be much stronger than an ordinary patrolling army team. He thinks he can pass the Starfield selections? Among the countless deities watching the Starfield selections, the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master, Jin Meiyang, sneered. The fierce shaman warrior is an extremely rare and precious warrior. It was custom-made by the Bloodshed God Palace to be used as an opponent in the Starfield selections. It's much stronger than a small patrolling army team. If he overestimates himself, he might even lose his life. Yes, young master. This Dongbua is too arrogant and overestimates himself. I think he'll most likely lose his life this time. In a battle of life and death, he'll lose his life if he's even slightly careless. He'll definitely die. The subordinates next to him immediately agreed. This made the young master of the Soaring Cloud Lake even more ferocious. He looked at this scene with anticipation. Dongbua. Die. The fierce shaman warrior is extremely powerful. You will definitely die, definitely. Dongbua Shuang, he is the deity of the Xia people. Yun Hai was incomparably excited amidst the crowd of deities. He looked on in anticipation. This is the first time a deity of the Xia people is participating in the Starfield preliminaries. There were quite a few Xia people who became gods. However, no one had ever participated in the Starfield preliminaries before. Dongbua Shuang was the first. As Dongbua Shuang walked on the golden pathway, he could hear countless voices in the world. These were the voices of the countless deities who were watching. Everyone's gazes were focused on him. Even his gaze is so oppressive. Dongbua Shuang exclaimed inwardly, if I hadn't grasped the world deity heart, I would probably be affected by so many gazes. After all, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years. It was too short, too young. However, after grasping the world deity heart, he was able to tolerate everything in the world. These gazes could not affect him in the slightest. What a powerful mental state. The eyes of most of the world deities on the platform lit up. He should have only cultivated for 2,000 years or so, yet he is able to remain unmoved by the gazes of countless deities. It is truly rare. Only 2,000 years? Patrol Master Guan was astonished. My realm is slightly lower, so I could only tell that he had cultivated for less than 5,000 years. Who would have thought that he had only cultivated for 2,000 years? Youth can only represent potential. It cannot represent strength. The Soaring Cloud Lake Master smiled. This Dongbua, his mental state is indeed not bad. However, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult for him to pass the Starfield preliminaries. Jin Fei Yun. A tall, skinny man wrapped in white robes sneered. I heard that your son was whipped quite a few times by this Dongbua with the heart-branding whip? Haha, Jin Fei Yun, even if your son was whipped in anger, you can't be so biased. I'm quite optimistic about this Dongbua. The other world deities were more than happy to see the Soaring Cloud Lake Master lose face. The green-bearded Jin Fei Yun laughed. I should be thanking him for whipping my son. After all, my son is a bit too arrogant. As for his strength, I'm not speaking carelessly. With his strength, it will be quite difficult for him to defeat the fierce shaman warrior. In this Starfield preliminaries of our Mountain Wu Star Field, in terms of strength, the one with the most potential to shine in the future, is still His Highness 7th Meiyu. In the end, this Dongbua is still lacking compared to His Highness 7th Meiyu. His Highness 7th Meiyu is indeed formidable. His Highness easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in just 15 sword strikes. Moreover, it was the fierce shaman warrior in its strongest form, one world deity after another praised 7th Mayu. The beautiful woman seated high above smiled. Although she felt that Dongbua Shuiying was young and had potential, how could he compare to her highness? The difference was naturally too great. Dongbua Shuiying walked through the golden passageway and finally stepped onto the stage. On the platform, Dongbua Shuiying suddenly felt the surrounding noises become much quieter. Countless deities, including the world deities on the distant platform, were staring at him, waiting for the battle to begin. Men? Dongbua Shuiying turned his head to look at the distant platform. With a single glance, he saw the master of the soaring cloud lake, Jin Fei Yun. He probably hopes for me to be defeated so that I won't be able to continue participating in the myriad flower feast. Then, as soon as I enter the bloodshed region, I'll be at his mercy. What a pity. You'll be disappointed. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. He then looked at the opponent in front of him. The fierce shaman warrior's body was covered in brown fur, and its face was fair. Its beady eyes stared at Dongbua Shuiying, flickering with an ominous glint. Begin! The golden-armored general's voice boomed out, reverberating throughout the world. Inside the stage, the hourglass suspended in mid-air began to turn upside down, and the sands of time began to flow. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the fierce shaman warrior in front of him. With a wave of his right hand, a thick black spear appeared in his hand. This spear was also the standard weapon provided by the patrol master. Home, the fierce shaman warrior first raised its head and roared, its roar producing shockwaves visible to the naked eye. Dongbua Shuiying continued to watch calmly. The fierce shaman warrior was slightly startled. Based on its experience, its opponents would usually run at full speed, using their speed to increase the distance between them and force it to split into 12 clones. However, this starry blue-robed youth in front of it was actually standing there without moving. This caused it to feel puzzled. You're actually not running? Brat die. The fierce shaman warrior revealed its ferocious mouth and stomped on the ground of the platform. So, it transformed into a ray of light. The fierce shaman warrior charged forward with incomparable savagery. If it were to split into 12 clones, the power of each clone would decrease. As such, it was at its most perfect when it was not split. The laws of profound mysteries of strength and speed were balanced in all aspects. If the taper beast was compared to it, the latter would be too stupid and would be easily defeated. Hong, the fierce shaman warrior pounced forward, its pair of sharp claws striking out at the same time. A black and white vortex could be faintly seen on its claws. One claw was surrounded by a black vortex, while the other was surrounded by a white vortex. Even the surrounding space began to distort. Dongbua Shuiying finally moved. Hong. At once, he waved the spear with both hands, raising it high and hacking down furiously. As he hacked down, the surrounding dark stars began to revolve, causing everything around him to collapse and be destroyed. The entire spear seemed to turn black. After entering the deity world and cultivating for more than 300 years, the secret skill that Dongbua Shuiying had spent the most effort on, the chaotic suppression, had become even more perfect. His strength had reached the threshold of a world deity, and the secret skill that he used was even more powerful, the chaotic suppression. This secret skill had been created when he was still a transcendent. It was also combined with the world deity grade secret skill, the great chaotic true force. This secret skill had been perfected to an extremely high level. In the past, when Dongbua Shuiying fought against the taper beast, because the taper beast's realm was relatively low, he had relied on brute force to defeat it. He had not even used this secret skill. Amen? The fierce shaman warrior was startled. Its figure flickered as it attempted to dodge the spear, its long claws continuing to attack. But no matter how it tried to dodge, the spear came slashing down. It was filled with a majestic aura, like an endless black hole that could devour everything. No matter how it tried, it could not be dodged and could only face it head-on. You want to face me head-on? The fierce shaman warrior raised both its claws to block the spear. It was prepared to block the attack first before tearing apart the youth in front of it. Pung! The claws and the spear clashed. An endless amount of terrifying power passed through the claws and into the fierce shaman warrior's body. The fierce shaman warrior's eyes widened, and with a pang, its entire body exploded. Hua! After that furious spear strike, Dongbua Shuiying charged forward for another 30 meters before stopping. The world suddenly turned silent, complete silence. Whether it was the countless deities watching the battle, the young master of the soaring cloud lake, Yun Hai, or the world deities on the high platform, all of them were staring at the dueling platform in silence. This scene caused all of the spectators to be somewhat dazed. One move. Just a furious spear strike had caused the fierce shaman warrior to explode? Both sides clashed and the fierce shaman warrior exploded? Dongbua Shuiying turned his head to look at the high platform. At this time, the Starfield Patrol Master Guan finally came to his senses. Unable to conceal his excitement, he stood up and announced, Deity Dongbua has defeated the fierce shaman warrior in one move. He has passed the Starfield preliminaries. Chapter 434. The countless spectators who had been silent all this while, suddenly burst into an uproar. Cheers, shouts, exclamations and discussions mixed together to form a huge sound wave that engulfed the world. Too powerful. This is crazy. One move, just one move, and the fierce shaman warrior exploded. This is even more powerful than His Highness. This Dongbo is too strong. It looks like my Mountain Wu Star Field is going to show its face this time. I dare say that this Dongbo will be very dazzling even during the prefecture capital's bloody selections. I must go there and watch the battle. Teleporting to the prefectural bloody selection costs 20 deity crystals. Isn't it just 20 deity crystals? How many years can we live after becoming deities? If we live for too long, we'll go crazy and our true deity hearts will collapse. To be able to watch a deity of the Mountain Wu Star Field display his abilities in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, let alone 20 deity crystals, even 100 would be worth it. These deities were all incomparably excited. Peak deities usually only had a few hundred deity crystals. If it was a late-stage or mid-stage deity, the amount of divinity crystals accumulated would be even less. Just one teleportation cost 20 deity crystals. The price was too high, but for the sake of watching the battle they were willing to go all out. Let's go all out. Too powerful. I've lived for more than 30 million years and I've seen a total of 4 Starfield selections. This one is the most powerful. I thought that His Highness was already very powerful, but this Dongbo, he really scared me. He's definitely the most powerful deity I've ever seen. I must go to the prefectural bloody selection, even if it costs 20 deity crystals. In the past, even if they passed the Starfield selections, they wouldn't have any hope of standing out in the prefectural bloody selection. But this Dongbo, I feel that he can make a name for himself. He even has a high chance of representing the entire Kamsi prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. In front of His Majesty, in front of all the powerful existences, he'll participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Ah, this is someone from our Mountain Wu Star Field. These deities were incomparably excited. Too powerful. Among the countless spectators, the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master Jin Meiyang's face turned ashen. He even noticed that many deities nearby were looking at him. Damn it. Jin Meiyang gritted her teeth. Jin Meiyang looked at Dongbua Shuiying, who was being led by a soldier to the high platform. This scene made Jin Meiyang feel as if his heart was being bitten by countless insects. How can he be so strong? He's this strong? At this moment, Jin Meiyang finally understood that when Dongbua Shuiying fought with him previously, he was just toying with him. From the beginning to the end, he did not reveal his true strength. Does this mean that I will never have the chance to take revenge? No, there is also the bloody screening in the prefecture capital. Although he is powerful, the prefecture capital is the place where the entire Kamsi prefecture is screened. Furthermore, the screening is extremely bloody and cruel, so it is very likely that he will die during the selection. Jin Meiyang understood that he did not have the strength to take revenge. But the viciousness in his bones made him look forward to Shuiying's downfall. This way, please. The soldier led the way. Dongbua Shuiying followed suit, walking towards the high platform. At the highest point of the high platform were the patrol master and the beautiful woman, while the world deities and the black-robed old man sat to their sides. Below them were the deities who had passed the selection, including Tsang Qiu, the red-haired man with half a mask, and His Highness 7th Meiyu. All of them were seated there. Please. Dongbua Shuiying was led to a seat as well. Those who had passed through the selections were seated in order, so Shuiying was naturally seated next to the handsome white-robed teenager, His Highness 7th Meiyu. Little friend Dongbua, your strength is truly formidable. The patrol master looked down at Dongbua Shuiying with a smile. For our Mountain Wu Star Field to produce such an expert is truly our Mountain Wu Star Field's fortune. This time it seems that I, Old Guan, will have to show my face in the prefecture capital. Haha, when the time comes, I will have the qualifications to boast and show off in front of the army lord, the black-robed old man said with a smile. The two big shots of the Mountain Wu Star Field simultaneously praised. The other world deities also began to praise Dongbo Shuiying. It seems that little friend Dongbo and I are fated to meet, the Soaring Cloud Lake's master Jin Feiyun said. Last time I could tell that little friend's strength was extraordinary, and I was afraid that a mere projection of mine wouldn't be able to deal with him. But now it seems that I have underestimated little friend. Last time both of us weren't in our true bodies. Now that we meet again, I have to thank little friend. Honestly, after receiving a few whips from you, my son has become much more obedient. Jin Feiyun, your skin is truly thick. Isn't it common knowledge that his skin is thick? Little friend Dongbo, you have to give it your all. Who knows, you might be able to pass through the prefecture capital's selections. At that time, you will be qualified to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Given your age, it should be easy for you to enter the tutelage of a powerful existence. When the time comes, I might need little friend Dongbo to take care of me. These world deities didn't put on any airs when facing Dongbo Shuiying. Dongbo Shuiying could only respond with one or two sentences or a smile. Formidable. He's much more formidable than us. If we go to the prefecture capital and admit defeat, we might be able to survive. This Dongbo is truly formidable. Including Dongbo Shuiying, there were a total of 12 people who had passed through the selections. The rest of them were quietly discussing the matter through voice transmissions. The solitary red-haired man, who was emanating a baleful aura, watched everything coldly and snorted faintly. Dongbo Shuiying's ears were extremely sensitive, and he heard the cold snort as well. He turned his head and saw that the red-haired man was also looking at Dongbo Shuiying coldly. This person's baleful aura is quite heavy, and his temper is quite strange. Dongbo Shuiying had originally intended to befriend him, but he immediately gave up on the idea. Not suitable. Your spear technique is quite formidable. A voice came from the side. It was clear and cold, but it was pleasing to the ears. Dongbo Shuiying turned his head and saw that it was the white-robed handsome youth, His Highness 7th Meiyu. His Highness 7th Meiyu was dressed in white, and his entire body was clean and clean. His aura was like that of a 10,000-year-old glacier. Even though it was cold, it was clean and pure. His eyes were clear and penetrating, as if there were no impurities in them. When making friends, everyone liked to be straightforward. His Highness 7th Meiyu Dongbo Shuiying seemed to be the kind of person who didn't like to play tricks. His every word and action was straightforward. It's just that I'm slightly stronger, Dongbo Shuiying said modestly. If it's just your strength, the fierce shaman warrior's laws of profound mysteries are able to neutralize 99% of the force. On the other hand, it couldn't neutralize the force of your spear technique at all. Instead, it directly seeped into its body, causing it to explode in an instant, 7th Meiyu said. Such a spear technique is extremely difficult to block. His Highness's sword technique is also very powerful. I specialize in strength, so I succeeded in one move. His Highness's sword technique is unpredictable, which is why I needed 15 moves to kill him. His Highness and I specialize in different aspects, Dongbo Shuiying said. These were his heartfelt words. His Highness 7th Meiyu was indeed very powerful. 7th Meiyu nodded lightly. You don't need to call me Highness. Just call me Meiyu. Brother Meiyu, Dongbo Shuiying called out. Brother Dongbo. 7th Meiyu nodded slightly. Even though he was a proud and aloof person, he still had sufficient respect for powerful experts. Clearly, Dongbo Shuiying was the only one worthy of his respect. As for the others, he ignored them. Time passed. Battle after battle continued. However, there were no longer any deity experts like Dongbo Shuiying or 7th Meiyu, who could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. The world deities on the high platform were also casually watching the battles, occasionally chatting with each other. Little friend Dongbo, the patrol master suddenly called out. Patrol master, Dongbo Shuiying hastily replied. I wonder which star of our Mountain Wu star field little friend Dongbo, are you from? Patrol master Guan smiled. Or are you from somewhere else? If you're from my Mountain Wu star field, as the patrol master of this star field, I might be able to lend you a hand. Dongbo Shuiying understood that this patrol master thought highly of him and was expressing his goodwill. He immediately said, Thank you, patrol master. However, I'm not from any star of the Mountain Wu star field. My hometown isn't in the deity world, but in the material world. Material world? Patrol master Guan nodded in surprise. Oh, so a deity expert has appeared in the material world. How rare. You said that you're from the material world? The beautiful woman beside Patrol Master Guan suddenly asked. You've only cultivated for 2,000 years, yet you've already reached such a realm. Furthermore, you're from the material world? In that case, have you already refined the heart of the realm and become a lord of the material world? Shua. Immediately, the gazes of Patrol Master Guan General 2, the group of world deities 7th Meiyu, and the others who had passed the starfield selections all landed on Dongbo Shuang, a lord of the material world. Chapter 435. This Madame Sang was absolutely right. He had cultivated for less than 10,000 years, yet his realm was already so high and he was born in the material realm. It was almost certain that he was a lord of a material realm. I was just lucky. Dongbo Shuang laughed, admitting it very naturally. A lord of a material realm? He really is a lord of a material realm? The other deities who had passed through the starfield selections looked at Dongbo Shuang with shock and envy. The half-masked red-haired man had a complicated look in his eyes as well. He couldn't be jealous even if he wanted to. Even the high-ranking 7th Meiyu looked at Dongbo Shuang and couldn't help but say, I really envy brother Dongbo. Haha. The patrol master seated on his throne laughed and sighed. Little friend Dongbo is truly admirable and enviable. His strength is so high at such a young age and his future is limitless. But he's actually a lord of a material realm. I'm very envious. I'm even willing to exchange all my treasures and even my position as the Starfield Patrol Master, just to become a lord of a material realm. Unfortunately, there's no way to exchange for that. Patrol Master Guan, even if you were born in the material realm, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to become a lord of a material realm. The black-robed elder, General 2, said, there aren't any powerful seniors in the material realm. As for demigod transcendence? Demigod transcendence only have an inkling of the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance might even make the path of cultivation more difficult. Dongbo Shuang nodded. That's right. The higher one's realm, the more one would understand how difficult it was to guide others in cultivation, unless they were like powerful existences, who had already transcended the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance was the one that truly hit the nail on the head, pointing straight to the essence. As for the guidance he received from Si Kong Yang and the rest when he was still young and inexperienced, perhaps it would have been fine if they had only given guidance to ordinary transcendents, but if they had given guidance to the truly talented ones, it would have been misleading. Si Kong Yang and the rest couldn't be blamed. They were only demigods back then, and their understanding of the laws of heaven and earth was too shallow. Without a good teacher, one has to figure everything out on their own. To reach the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years is simply too difficult. The black-robed elder sighed. Everything has its two sides. The beautiful woman sitting at the very top also said, without the guidance of a good master, although cultivation is difficult, once you succeed, you will become a material world lord. After becoming a lord of a material world, as long as one cultivates a doppelganger technique, leaving one body in the material world and the other outside, no matter how powerful a world deity is, they will not be able to kill a lord of a material world. Yes. Patrol Master Guan General 2, the other universe gods, including those who had passed the Starfield preliminaries, were all extremely envious. That was right. It was impossible for anyone below the Almighty to kill a material world lord. Even the lofty stage 4 world deities whose strength was close to that of powerful existences would at most be able to kill the avatars of the lords of a material realm. The true body of the lords of a material realm, on the other hand, was absolutely safe. After all, how many almighty existences were there in the entire god realm? It was very difficult to provoke a powerful existence. In the immortal world, one had to be wary of provoking a powerful enemy, or accidentally provoking an existence with a powerful background. However, becoming a lord of a material world was equivalent to having a supreme protective talisman. Even if others wanted to offend such an existence, they would have to think twice before making an enemy out of an unkillable existence. Furthermore, a material world lord could go adventuring in places without fear of death, obtaining treasures. I'm so envious. Everyone present was envious. Being born in the deity world and the material world had its pros and cons. In the deity world, the energy of the world was much more turbulent, and becoming a transcendent was much easier. Moreover, those with sufficient talent could easily receive guidance from powerful seniors. Some might even be taken in as disciples by powerful world deities. World deities all grasped hold of at least a grade 1 deity heart, and their guidance would be of great help to one's cultivation. The path of cultivation would be 10 to 100 times easier. As for the material world, everything depended on oneself. Reaching the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years was much harder than in the deity world. However, in the material world, even if one could not become a lord of a material world, it was still safer, unlike in the deity world. Everything had its pros and cons. Brother Dongbua, have you cultivated a doppelganger technique? Her Highness 7th Mayu suddenly asked. Everyone present reacted, and the patrol master hurriedly asked, Little friend Dongbua, you didn't come here with your real body, did you? I have indeed cultivated a doppelganger technique. Dongbua Shuiying nodded without hiding anything. Why are you so? The patrol master couldn't help but shake his head. Cultivating a doppelganger technique causes your soul to split into two, which will affect your comprehension of cultivation. You can always cultivate it again and wait for the next myriad flower feast. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. Wait for another 10 million years? It's not that I'm arrogant, but I feel that I should have become a world deity in 10 million years. Amen. Patrol Master Guan and the other world deities agreed inwardly. To reach such a realm in 2,000 years, becoming a world deity in 10 million years was indeed an easy task. At that time, I won't be able to participate in the myriad flower feast and enjoy the myriad flower true fruit. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. My current cultivation has reached a bottleneck, and I'm only a small step away from becoming a world deity. However, this step is like a heavenly moat that cannot be completed in a short period of time. Thus, after much consideration, I decided to cultivate a doppelganger technique and participate in the myriad flower feast. Firstly, I can use this opportunity to temper my strength. Secondly, as long as I can head to the Bloodshed God Palace, I believe that with my years of cultivation, I will have a high chance of becoming a disciple of a powerful existence. The beautiful woman said, Little friend Dongbua, as long as you head to the Bloodshed God Palace, you will definitely become a disciple of a powerful existence. With the guidance of a powerful existence, I believe that I will be able to break through the final step much faster. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. Being able to participate in the myriad flower feast, enjoying the myriad flower true fruit, and becoming a disciple of a powerful existence earlier. For many reasons, I feel that it is worth cultivating a doppelganger technique. That's true. There are gains and losses. The myriad flower true fruit's assistance to one's soul can completely make up for the loss of splitting into two. The world deities all understood Dongbua Shuiying's choice. Either he would silently cultivate in seclusion for millions or tens of millions of years, or he would dazzlingly participate in the myriad flower feast and become a disciple of a powerful existence. It was likely that many would choose the latter. The entire Starfield selections were still in progress. Even though there were some who managed to pass the selections, the Patrol Master, General 2, and the world deities on the high platform were still chatting casually with Shuiying. Clearly, Dongbua Shuiying's position in their hearts had risen significantly. Finally, after a full 12 days of Starfield selections, the Mountain Wu Starfield selections finally came to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast has officially ended with the Starfield selections of my Mountain Wu Starfield. A total of 16 deities from my Mountain Wu Starfield have passed, including stunning experts like Dongbua and 7th Mayu. I believe that the deities of my Mountain Wu Starfield will be able to display their true strength in the prefecture battle, and they might even have the chance to represent the Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. The final Bloodshed God Palace battle will be held in front of His Majesty and the powerful existences. Patrol Master Guan's voice was brimming with confidence. Below, the soldiers of the Legion were maintaining order, allowing the spectators to leave the Bloodshed region. Let's go. Patrol Master Guan also looked around. The 16 who passed the preliminaries will also follow me to my mansion. Stay there for a year, and after that I'll bring all of you to the prefecture battle. If you have any subordinates or friends, you can bring them along. My mansion is very large and you can all stay there. Powerful deities usually had their own subordinates and followers. Patrol Master Guan, Madame Sang General 2, and a group of world deities flew majestically in the sky. 7th Mayu Eastern Europe's Snow Eagle, and the rest of the 16 deities were behind them, each with their own people. Dongbua Shuiying only brought Yunhai with him. His Highness 7th Mayu had brought the most people with her. A group of white-robed maids followed her, and every single one of them was an extraordinary deity. They were probably much stronger than the soldiers of the Legion. Dongbua, I'm about to go crazy from watching this, Yunhai said as he flew beside Dongbua Shuiying. Should we tell the Xia people about this? Let them be happy as well. Let's tell them, Dongbua Shuiying said with a smile. Alright, I'll tell them, including Violet Thunder and the others. Let them be happy. Yunhai could hardly conceal his excitement. Dongbu Shuang smiled faintly. Under Patrol Master Guan's lead, although Dongbu Shuang and the others weren't flying very fast, the space around them was constantly changing. Patrol Master Guan was, after all, in charge of the city. Thus, it only took a moment for Dongbu Shuang to see the extravagant mansion in the distance, the mansion of the Lord Patrol Master. Chapter 436. Dongbu Shuang and Yunhai were temporarily staying at the Chief Patrol's mansion. Meanwhile, in different regions of the divine world, the ancestor deities of the Xia clan who were still alive had all received the news from the Cloud Sea. Dong Bo passed the star field preliminaries and defeated the fierce shaman warrior with just one move? The amiable-looking old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor who was currently stationed on a star, was overjoyed when he received the news. Excellent. This is the first person in the history of the Xia people to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. Dong Bo truly lives up to his reputation as the strongest deity in the history of the Xia people. I'll definitely be there to watch the Calm Sea Prefecture's prefecture capital battle. Although the army had its own rules, it wasn't as if they were completely heartless. After all, what kind of grand occasion was the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? These soldiers could also send divine power clones to watch the battle, and they would be sent over in batches. Even the teleportation fee was waived. The Purple Thunder Emperor didn't go to watch the Star Zone preliminaries because he was more engrossed in the Tao of Alchemy. However, he knew that Dong Bo was going to participate in the Prefecture City battle, so he naturally had to go. Myriad Flower Feast Prefecture Battle? One of the ancestors of the Xia people, a loner who had also reached the peak of the deity level, the Crimson Flame Emperor, was incomparably excited when he heard the news. Wonderful, wonderful. I must definitely go and watch the prefectural city battles. Good heavens. Dongbo is really amazing. He defeated the fierce shaman warrior with a single move? I'm too weak and I've offended enemies. I'm in hiding now. Why don't I go to the prefectural city and seek refuge with Dongbo? Most of the ancestors of the Xia people decided to head to the Calm Sea Prefecture city, with the exception of a few who were unable to make it to the Calm Sea Prefecture. There were even some who were too weak and had to sell their deity weapons and treasures to gather 20 deity crystals to spectate the battle. This way they would be able to rely on Dongbu Shuang when the time came. After all, Dongbu Shuang could be considered as a huge backer. Hugging onto this thick thigh would make their days much better. In the future, when Dongbu Shuang's status rises and he becomes stronger, he would definitely trust the Xia people even more. After the ancestors of the Xia people heard the news, they were all excited and proud. In the physical realm, within the world of the Xia people, the news of Dongbu Shuang passing the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast was known to very few. That generation is getting fewer and fewer. Dongbu Shuang, who was dressed in white, stood at the top of Snowrock Mountain, looking at the world from afar. His eyes pierced through the obstacles of space and saw Emperor Xia's city. He had cultivated for more than 2,300 years. Even if he subtracted the 600 years of time acceleration, it would still be more than 1,700 years. After so many years, the Palace Lord Qin, Mountain Lord He, Si Kong Yang, City Lady Bu, Grand Elder Palace Head, Master Gong Yu, and the others had long reached the end of their lifespans. Dongbu Shuang had reconstructed their fleshly bodies and sent them into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. As for Puyang Bo, Zhang Peng, Yu Feng, and the other good brothers, they had all failed to become demigods and were sent into the Crimson Rock Mountain world as well. Of course, his younger brother, Dongbu Qingshi, had finally become a demigod under Dongbu Shuang's careful guidance, but it was barely enough. Dongbu Shuang reckoned that it would be very difficult for his younger brother to become a demigod, and that he would have to reconstruct his fleshly body and send it into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. Snow Eagle, what's wrong? Jing Qiu appeared at his side. There are happy things, but there are fewer people to share them with, Dongbu Shuang said. You don't intend to tell Yu and Qin Yao about the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Jing Qiu asked. There's no need to tell them. Dongbu Shuang said, Yu and Qin Yao should first train them. Once they are strong enough, we'll send them into Crimson Rock Mountain. Once they become honorary disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain, they'll be able to temper themselves in the world of Crimson Rock Mountain. Jing Qiu was somewhat worried. Crimson Rock Mountain's trial is very dangerous. What about Yu and Qin Yao? Don't worry, they're both very strong. They just need to temper their temperaments a bit more. Dongbu Shuang said. Even if they had to follow the rules of Crimson Rock Mountain's trial, his children were more than enough. His true body had cultivated the time-immemorial physique to the 4th level before he had children. Thus, the bloodlines of Dongbo Yu and Dongbo Qingyao were extremely powerful. They were much stronger than any abyssal demon or primordial life form. They were already comparable to newly ascended deities when they reached adulthood, and after 500 years of cultivation and the guidance of a world deity like Dongbo Shuiying, his children's strength had risen to a whole new level. Passing the trial was very easy, and because their bodies were extremely strong, their souls were also sufficiently strong. They were also confident of passing the soul trial. More importantly, Dongbo Shuiying was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain. His children were going to challenge it? How could they fail? He was only putting on an act for his wife and his 2 senior brothers to see. In any case, you've already gone through the trial, so you should be very clear about the dangers of Crimson Rock Mountain. You should take care of it yourself. If you think that you, and Qingyao can pass, then let them in, Jingqiu said. Don't worry, I won't harm them. Dongbo Shuiying smiled. Right, Snow Eagle, I have some good news to tell you, Jingqiu said. Good news? Dongbo Shuiying's eyes brightened as he looked at his wife's belly. You're pregnant again? His true body had already become a world deity, so how could he have another child so easily? What are you thinking about? Jingqiu helplessly said, I'm saying that I've already grasped the grade 2 deity heart, the primordial frost deity heart. Primordial frost deity heart? Dongbo Shuiying was startled. What deity heart is that? As the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, he knew many secrets, but he had never heard of the primordial frost deity heart. It's the name I came up with after condensing my deity heart. Jingqiu said, it's the pinnacle of frost, so I decided on this name. I feel that as long as I continue to cultivate and evolve, the primordial frost deity heart will have a chance of evolving into the primal chaos deity heart. However, that's still a long way off. I've only grasped the basics of a grade 2 deity heart. I'm still far from reaching the peak of the deity realm. After Chao Qing and me, our Xia people will finally have another deity. Dongbo Shuiying was quite happy. You're nearing the end of your lifespan. I've always been afraid that you won't be able to comprehend it before your time comes. Didn't I comprehend it already? I'm preparing to break through tonight. Alright, I'll protect you. That night, a huge illusion of an ocean appeared in the sky of the Xia people's world once more. It was vast and majestic, covering an area of 50,000 kilometers. Clearly, it was a grade 2 deity heart that had become a deity. Jingqiu was dressed in a light blue robe. She sat cross-legged in a quiet room within Snowrock Castle. Dongbo Shuiying stood guard outside the room. With the primordial frost deity heart as the core, it would become the true deity heart. Opening the deity sea, giving birth to deity power. Jingqiu's aura gradually began to change. An icy aura of deity power began to spread, causing even the floor of the quiet room to freeze. Suddenly Jingqiu opened her eyes. Her brows furrowed and she couldn't help but clutch her head. Several breaths later, her brows relaxed and she calmly looked forward. However, her eyes were cold and distant. I've become a deity. That's great. Jingqiu suddenly smiled brightly. Snow Eagle, you Qingyao, the heavens are so kind to me. Jingqiu stood up and the door to the quiet room opened. Seeing his wife walk out, Dongbo Shuiying was somewhat stunned. His wife was smiling happily, and it was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. Jingqiu, look at how happy you are. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. Jingqiu reached out and hugged Dongbo Shuiying's arm. I've become a deity. Of course I'm happy. I can spend a long time with you, our son and daughter. Snow Eagle, I've always wanted to accompany you to the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. But I couldn't become a deity until now. I want to cultivate a clone technique so that I can accompany you in the deity realm. Cultivate a clone technique? Dongbo Shuiying hurriedly said, it will affect your cultivation. It's fine. Do you want me to stay in the material realm forever? Or do you want my true body to go to the deity realm? Jingqiu looked at Dongbo Shuiying. Snow Eagle, senior brother Snow Eagle. Dongbo Shuiying thought for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Alright, I'll bring you to see my 2 senior brothers. Inside Crimson Rock Mountain, the thick-robed youth, Gu Bai, and the scarlet-cloaked youth, He Feiyun, were both incomparably shocked. Brat, you secretly participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Gu Bai asked. Didn't I say it back then? It's the ancestors' orders, so of course I have to participate. Dongbo Shuiying said, you guys also said that Crimson Rock Mountain disciples can't cultivate a clone technique, so I can only try to learn it outside. Right, my wife, Jingqiu, is also preparing to go to the deity realm. Why don't you teach her a clone technique? She's not a Crimson Rock Mountain disciple, so she should be able to learn it. The two senior brothers looked at each other. All right. He Feiyun said, however, junior brother Snow Eagle, you must inform us of your participation in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. Don't worry, Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said. Thank you, senior brothers, Jing Qiu said from the side. You two husband and wife are truly enviable. The thick-robed youth Gobai laughed. Very quickly Jing Qiu cultivated a clone technique. Crimson Rock Mountain helped her cultivate an embryo under the acceleration of time, and she quickly cultivated a clone. Following which Jing Qiu's clone left the world of the Xia people. With enough deity crystals, she easily reached Mountain Wu City in the Mountain Wu Star Zone. Your Dongbo's wife? The soldiers at the main gate of the Starfield Patrol Master's mansion stared at the beautiful woman in deep blue robes in astonishment. She was truly beautiful. Even as deities, it was rare for them to see such a beautiful woman. I'll go inform them right away, one of the guards hurriedly said. Dongbo Shuang and Yunhai hurried over. The moment he saw his wife, Dongbo Shuang couldn't help but reveal a look of joy as he hurried over. You must be Mage Jing Qiu, Yunhai said with a smile. Yunhai laughed from the side. Dongbo was just exchanging pointers with His Highness 7th Meiyu when he heard that you were coming. He immediately left 7th Meiyu behind and rushed over here. Star. Chapter 437. Greetings, Senior Yunhai. Jing Qiu hurriedly bowed to the Xia people. Don't. We're all deities now, so we should treat each other as peers, Yunhai said. Shuang pulled Jing Qiu's hand as they walked into the mansion. Let's not stand in front of the mansion's entrance. The guards are watching us. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbo Shuang with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. His Highness 7th Meiyu? Oh, it sounds like a girl's name. A man. Dongbo Shuang said helplessly. A very powerful expert. He easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in the Starfield selections, and his background is extraordinary. A Stage 2 world deity is only his subordinate. Jing Qiu was shocked. A Stage 2 world deity? What's his background? I don't know. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. His background is extraordinary. He might have used a treasure to hide his identity and aura. It's also possible that he's a woman disguised as a man, Jing Qiu said deliberately. And to spar with you? Dongbo Shuang clutched his forehead. They were an old couple, yet the first thing they did was tease him. Emperor Yunhai watched from the side with a smile, but there was a hint of loneliness in his eyes. After Jing Qiu's arrival, her days in the Patrol Master's mansion became much more relaxed and joyful. Her wife accompanied her every day, and she would occasionally spar with Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Their strength was similar, and it could be considered as preparation for the upcoming prefectural battle. Day after day passed, and the day of departure for the prefecture capital drew nearer. Rumble, within the meditation room. Shuang sat cross-legged on his bed. With a swipe of his finger, a rolling crimson stream of water danced in mid-air. This stream of water was formed from many droplets, and every single droplet was visible to the naked eye. As they moved, they brought with them an endless amount of power. It was so powerful that the surrounding space seemed to collapse and shrink. These crimson droplets of water danced around Shuang, and also danced in midair within the cultivation room. The Chaos Whole Deity Heart and the World Deity Heart are indeed different. Dongbo Shuang looked at the dark red water droplets dancing in the air. The World Deity Heart is more inclusive and balanced, while the Chaotic Deity Heart is more extreme. But because it was too extreme, it created a balance. Extreme. I need to break free from the World Deity Heart's influence and completely immerse myself in the mysteries of the Chaos Whole. Dongbo Shuang closed his eyes. After many years of cultivation, especially after perfecting his self-created secret technique, Chaotic Crush, Dongbo Shuang's understanding of the chaotic whole had deepened, and his state of mind was also getting closer. Countless profound mysteries appeared. Behind Dongbo Shuang, there was a faint shadow of collapsing darkness. This shadow of darkness was surrounded by a layer of light. The outer layer had a halo of light, and the inner layer was absolute darkness. Others could see it, but Dongbo Shuang was immersed in his comprehension, ignoring all these phenomena. That's right. Completely extreme seems to be wrong. But if one surges forward and becomes one, the end of the extreme is perfection. Dongbo Shuang suddenly had an epiphany, and he gained a clearer understanding of the chaotic deity heart. Although he had not completely grasped it, Every small improvement he made was a step closer to success. Great chaotic true force condense. Dongbo Shuang looked at the sky and took a deep breath. The dark red water droplets in the air immediately flew into Dongbo Shuang's mouth and entered his body. Within his deity sea, countless dark red water droplets were being transformed. Every water droplet became heavier and more collapsed, and its color became darker and darker, almost black. Drops of black water droplets appeared within his deity sea. Each black water droplet was incomparably heavy, and they could easily smash an ordinary peak stage deity to death. Yes, a single water droplet could smash a peak stage deity to death. The great chaotic true force truly specializes in extreme strength. Dongbo Shuang praised. The energy within his body was still transforming, but since he had already comprehended it, it would only take him a bit more time to transform it. He could already feel the might of the second stage of the great chaotic true force. It's not as good as the third stage of the time immemorial body in other aspects, but it's clearly stronger in terms of strength. The time immemorial scripture had a total of 9 stages. The deity realm had a total of 3 stages. Because he had participated in the God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, this body had naturally only reached the 3rd stage. However, he did not dare to reach the 4th stage. If he did, even a fool would be able to guess that he had grasped hold of a grade 1 deity heart. Looking at it again, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years? This was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. The great chaotic true force had a total of 6 stages. The deity realm had a total of 2 stages. The time immemorial body specialized in survival, so even if he reached the 3rd stage of the deity realm, his strength and speed would only be at the threshold of a world deity. The great chaotic true force, on the other hand, specialized in strength. Once he reached the 2nd stage, his strength would be comparable to a stage 1 world deity. Of course, the main reason why world deities were so powerful was because of their comprehension of the realms. They could control an area of more than 100 million kilometers with a single thought, and their grade 1 deity hearts were even more mysterious and unfathomable. However, for him to be so powerful in terms of pure strength, he was already quite powerful amongst deities. The only ones who could compete with me in terms of strength are those who also cultivate in world deity ranked secret techniques. Dongbo Shuang thought. Even if he had a world deity ranked secret technique, cultivating it to the peak of the deity realm would not be an easy task. There's still half a month left before we head to the prefecture capital. If I can master it before the prefecture capital battle, my chances of success will increase by quite a bit. Dongbo Shuang was quite happy. Half a month later, Patrol Master Guan was leading the group of people who had passed the Starfield selections. His Highness 7th Meiyu Dongbo Shuang and the others were also leading their own people. There was even a large group of soldiers protecting them. They flew majestically within Mountain Wu City. The trip to the prefecture capital will be up to you all, Patrol Master Guan said with a smile as he flew. With His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dongbua around, our Mountain Wu star field will definitely shine brightly this time, the black-robed old man, General Tu, said with a smile. The world deities who had followed along were also chatting idly. Behind them, Dongbua Shuang and the rest were relatively quiet. They did not dare to boast about themselves. Humph. The red-haired man, who was emitting a baleful aura and wearing a half-mask, heard Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, and the other world deities praise Dongbua Shuang and His Highness 7th Meiyu. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. He glanced at the aloof, white-robed handsome youth in front of him, then at Dongbua Shuang, who was happily laughing together with his wife Jing Qiu. The baleful aura on his body grew even stronger. Very soon, the group entered the spatial teleportation array outside Mountain Wu City. The deity world soldiers in charge of the array immediately rushed to and fro in a respectful manner. After all, this was the Starfield Patrol Master, the general of the garrison, and a group of world deities. They could not afford to offend any one of them. The spatial teleportation channel was instantly activated. Their bodies felt as if they had sunk into a swamp, and the space around them had solidified. Everything became clear. What appeared before their eyes was an incomparably majestic city that was many times more majestic than Mountain Wu City. It was incomparably huge, and it was even surrounded by mountains. Amidst the mountains there were even many stars. There were dozens of stars in the sky above the city alone. From this, one could see how huge the city was. A prefecture capital. Everyone, including the patrol master, looked at it from afar and involuntarily retracted their auras. The Calm Sea prefecture capital was the core of a prefecture. The entire territory of the Bloodshed God Palace was divided into 19 prefectures. The number of experts within the Calm Sea Prefecture was as many as the clouds in the sky. Compared to them, these people did not count for much. Chapter 438. The towering walls of the Calm Sea Prefecture city were covered with countless arrays. These arrays could faintly draw upon the power of the world to permeate a radius of millions and millions of kilometers. Everyone, including the strongest Stage 2 world deity in the team, Madame Sang, could feel the pressure. The Calm Sea Prefecture city has been reinforced by the previous prefecture master, and its power has long since reached an extraordinary level. The current prefecture master can activate the arrays with a single thought, and even Stage 4 world deities will be suppressed, losing their lives if they aren't careful. As for us weak world deities, no matter how many come, we will all die. Patrol Master Guan continued, moreover, there are many people with powerful backgrounds here. It is best for everyone to maintain a low profile within the prefecture city. Yes, Patrol Master. The deities who had passed through the preliminaries hurriedly replied. His Highness 7th Mei Yu and Dongbo Shuiying, on the other hand, were relatively calm. The two of them were well aware of the underlying rules. Patrol Master Guan continued, however, you can rest assured. You are all participants of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, and His Majesty has forbidden anyone from disrupting it. Thus, there shouldn't be anyone who would dare act arrogantly against you. Alright, let's enter the city. On the main gate of the prefecture city, there were two gigantic characters formed from deity imprints, Calm Sea. These two characters emitted boundless might, and the two complex characters were actually incomparably profound arrays. Upon entering the Calm Sea Prefecture city, a legion of soldiers came to receive them. The Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast was the greatest event of the deity world, and no mishaps could be tolerated. Calm Sea Prefecture City, Bloodshed Region. Within a chain of caves. This cave will temporarily belong to your Mountain Wu Star Field, the Legion soldier in charge of leading the way said. The soldier in charge of leading the way said, we're surrounded by people from other star domains, and will send news of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast to the Patrol Master. The Patrol Master will then inform the 16 deity experts under his command. Understood. Patrol Master Guan nodded. Patrol Master, please arrange for everyone to rest. We will immediately relay any news or orders from the Prefecture Master. Everything was arranged appropriately. Dongbo Shuiying brought Jingqiu Yunhai and the rest to their caves. Calm Sea Prefecture Capital. A dispirited man with a blade on his back looked at the majestic city in front of him. His eyes were filled with anticipation. I heard that many deities of the Xia people have come. It's been too long. It's been too long since we've gathered together. This dispirited man was Emperor Crimson Flame. I even sold my weapons to gather 20 divine crystals. That's how I managed to make it here. I heard from Yunhai that Dongbo has already arrived at the Calm Sea Prefecture city. A gray-robed youth let out a long sigh of relief. Cultivating in the God world is really too difficult. Following Dongbo will make my days much easier. Calm Sea Prefecture Capital. Amidst a group of soldiers, the amiable old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, was also looking at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture capital with a smile on his face. Haha, they're here. We, the deities of the Xia people, have come to participate in the Myriad Flower Feast. A forthright man looked at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture city and revealed a hearty smile. In the Calm Sea Prefecture city, Dongbo Shuiying's temporary abode was filled with more and more people. All of them were the ancestral deities of the Xia people. Brother Purple Thunder, you've only sent a single deity avatar? The group of deities of the Xia people was incomparably happy as they once again drank to their heart's content. In the past, they had always communicated with each other through communication treasures or spatial imprints they had left in the Xia people. They had never met each other on such a large scale before. After all, they were scattered all over the place, and the teleportation fee for them to gather together was ridiculously high. There's no helping it. After joining the army, I can't just casually leave. But since I'm here to spectate, there's no difference between my true body and my deity avatar. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed. He then turned to Crimson Flame. Come, Crimson Flame. Come, let's have a drink. Dragon Mountain, Dragon Mountain. Quick, Dongbo was born in your Dragon Mountain Empire. Come, the two of you should have a drink as well. Everyone was gathered here. Since they were all from the Xia people, they were naturally as close as brothers. Dongbo Shuiying turned to the slightly dispirited Emperor Crimson Flame. He raised his cup and said, Brother Crimson Flame, let me toast you. This title of yours is too tyrannical. You actually share the same name as a powerful existence. Emperor Crimson Flame was startled. Is that so? That's right. Dongbo Shuang grinned. Crimson Flame? The forefather who had saved his wife was none other than Chihua Laozu. But it was normal for experts in the deity world to share the same name. For instance, His Majesty Blood Blade would not be able to sense it even if someone were to shout it. After all, there were simply too many people who had mentioned it. For instance, countless people had mentioned the Bloodshed God Palace or the Bloodshed Tavern. Thus, the word bloodshed was too common. The same logic applied. The Temporal Island Lord would not be able to sense it even if others said the word spacetime. That was because the word spacetime was too common. Sensing it was usually a direct form of address. For instance, Temporal Island Lord, Bloodblade. Only such a form of address would be able to sense it. It seems my name isn't bad. Emperor Crimson Flame grinned. He had been too lonely, and now that he was with a group of Xia people, he felt a sense of joy and satisfaction that he hadn't felt in a long time. All right, Dongbua. The Dragon Mountain Emperor looked at Dongbua Shuang and laughed. Are you confident in your chances of winning the prefecture capital battle of the Myriad Flower Feast? That's right. Dongbua, are you confident? We're all looking forward to your trip to the Bloodshed God Palace. When the time comes, we can take the opportunity to follow you there. The Bloodshed God Palace. I've heard that the teleportation fee is 100 deity crystals. Normally we wouldn't be willing to go there. All of them looked at Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang continued, there are so many starfields in the Kamsi prefecture, and I've heard that there are a total of 32,000 deities who have passed the starfield selections. The prefectural capital battle was to select the strongest 100 out of the 32,000 participants. The elimination rate is simply too high, so I can only say that I'm confident, but I can't say that I'm absolutely certain. 32,000 deities and the top 100? The Purple Thunder Emperor and the others were all startled. Many of them are disciples of powerful world deities, and some are even disciples of powerful existences. Some of them have cultivated for millions of years, Yunhai said from the side. It was too difficult. Dongbua Shuang and the deities of the Xia people were having a great time together. The other deities who had passed the selections from the various starfields were also preparing for the bloody elimination. The prefecture capital battle was the cruelest. The death rate had always been extremely high. In the Kamsi prefecture capital, within a side palace of the prefecture master's palace, 5 existences were currently seated. Ha! A hearty laughter rang out, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A man whose entire body seemed to be made of black metal walked into the palace. He was a member of the metal race, and his name was infamous throughout the entire Kamsi prefecture. The name King Ronghai was enough to strike fear into the hearts of many world deities. Upon entering the palace, the black metal man bowed slightly toward the old man seated high above. Greetings, prefecture master. Ronghai, take a seat, the old man instructed. This old man seemed to be smiling amiably, but he was, without a doubt, the strongest expert in the entire Kamsi prefecture. He was also the prefecture master of the Kamsi prefecture. Yes. The black metal man swept his gaze across the area, noticing the 4 existences seated to the side. Each of them had a majestic aura that was not any weaker than his own. With a single glance, he noticed the white-robed plump man who was currently eating with his head lowered. His eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, Brother White Sand, weren't you asleep? Why have you come to watch the battle? As he spoke, the black metal man chose a seat to the right of the White Sand City Lord. I was asleep, but I was woken up by a little fellow. The White Sand City Lord laughed. Who would be so daring? Did you eat him in a fit of anger? The black metal man asked in astonishment. I do like to eat, but I don't eat humans. The White Sand City Lord glared at him. It's a little fellow called Dongbua. A yellow-robed woman sitting opposite him laughed. He even participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. The black metal man was surprised. He's called Dongbua, and he'll be participating in the Starfield selections in the Mountain Wu Star Field. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard and proudly said, This little brother is quite formidable. I'm very optimistic about him, and I feel that he'll definitely pass the prefecture capital battle. Star. Chapter 439. The yellow-robed woman immediately laughed. Big Brother White Sand, how many deities from the entire Kamsi prefecture have come to participate? There are also many who have rushed over from outside. Out of 32,000 deities, only 100 will be chosen. You really think too highly of that little brother Dongbo of yours? The yellow-robed woman laughed. Her voice was pleasing to the ears, and her delicate body trembled. Her loose yellow robes made it possible to see the curves of her body. However, she was a frightening stage 3 world deity known as the venomous Ying world deity. She specialized in poison. The sorcerer god that Dongbo Shuiying had seen before paled in comparison to this venomous Ying world deity. You'll know when the time comes. The White Sand City Lord was too lazy to say anything else and continued eating. The others chatted as they ate. Everyone present was an intimidating existence, and it was rare for them to meet each other. Not long after, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master suddenly stood up and looked outside with a beaming smile. His actions startled the other 5 and they hurriedly stood up as well. "Ha, Brother Long," a vigorous voice came from outside. An old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard walked in. He wore a thick black robe and stepped into the hall. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master walked down and took the initiative to welcome him. "Brother Imo, it's been a long time since we last met. I didn't think that you would come to the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. Come, follow me to a seat. Then I won't stand on ceremony." The white-bearded old man and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master walked to a higher place and sat down. The moment the 5 heard the 2 words Imo Shui, they immediately guessed the identity of the newcomer. All of them hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Monarch Imo Shui." All of them were rather humble and polite. Monarch Imo Shui's fame was simply too great. He was an existence who had occupied a territory in the deity world and established an empire. He was a true overlord of the deity world, and he had even fought against powerful existences without losing. However, he was a stage 4 world deity who had lived for a very, very long time. Many world deities guessed that Monarch Imo Shui had lived for too long, and that he might not be able to protect his true deity heart and die at any time. Regardless, as long as he was alive, it was enough to intimidate everyone. "Brother Imo Shui, let me introduce you." The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the second seat on the left. As for the first seat, it was empty. "This is Mo Yun, a junior of my Calm Sea Prefecture. However, his cultivation speed is extremely fast, and he became a stage 3 world deity in just 10 million years. Mo Yun pays his respects to Monarch Imo Shui." The black-robed man bowed. "It's good to be young." Monarch Imo Shui smiled and nodded from above. "This is Marshal Qin." The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the silver-white armored woman beside the black-robed man. "Marshal Qin is in charge of the North Wind Legion within my Calm Sea Prefecture." The silver-armored woman, Marshal Qin, also bowed. "This is the venomous Ying world deity, someone who specializes in using poison." The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the yellow-robed woman, who softly said, "Venomous Ying greets the monarch." "Aha, I know you. Brother Puzong was poisoned by you and suffered a huge loss." Monarch Imo Shui laughed. "Monarch Puzong did not bicker with me," the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. "If he did, I would not have been able to live until now. This is the White Sand City Lord. There's no need for me to explain in detail." The Calm Sea Prefecture Master laughed. "I know him. He's that rat who steals food." Monarch Imo Shui laughed. The plump White Sand City Lord added, "I've regretted it for so many years. I've always wanted to return to His Majesty's side." If someone else dared to call him a rat who steals food, the White Sand City Lord would have long since killed them. But in front of the Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Imo Shui, he was still very obedient. These two were old fellows with long reputations. There were differences between stage 4 world deities. Generally speaking, the older one was, the stronger they would become. Unfortunately, after reaching a certain point, they would either reincarnate or die from the collapse of their original heart. "This is Ronghai. He's somewhat foolish," the Calm Sea Prefecture Master said. "He's from the metal race?" "The metal race is quite straightforward," Monarch Imo Shui added. King Ronghai grinned. "Right, straightforward. I'm very straightforward." "Brother Imo Shui, why have you come to my place?" The Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast can be seen in any prefecture city. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master asked. The two of them sat side by side on high ground and Monarch Imo Shui laughed. "I've come because my 7th daughter is also participating in the Myriad Flower Feast. She's in your Calm Sea Prefecture right now." "7th daughter? You have another daughter?" The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was startled. "Yes." Monarch Imo Shui nodded. "You're quite amazing, old man. You're already so old. You've given birth to another daughter?" The Calm Sea Prefecture Master sighed in amazement. Everyone says that it's extremely difficult for Stage 4 world deities to have children, but you've had one after another. You should have 7 daughters by now, right? Right? How's her comprehension ability? Monarch Mo Shui was an overlord who had lived for a very long time. Of his 6 daughters, the eldest had extremely high talent, becoming a Stage 3 world deity. The other 5 were somewhat weaker, and Monarch Mo Shui had spared no expense to barely allow them to step into the world deity realm. They were all Stage 1 world deities. My youngest daughter is very opinionated. Even my words are useless against her, Monarch Mo Shui praised. Monarch Mo Shui praised, but her perception is indeed not bad, not much different from my eldest daughter. Not bad. It seems that this youngest daughter of yours will be able to become a disciple of a powerful existence. Right? What's your youngest daughter's name? She disguised herself as a man and gave herself a name, 7th Mayu. Monarch Mo Shui shook his head. Disguised herself as a man? Aha, interesting. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master laughed. While the 2 of them were chatting, the 5 people below rarely interjected. However, they had all memorized the name 7th Mayu. If I recall correctly, among the deities of the Mountain Wu Starfield who passed the Starfield selections, other than little brother Dong Bo, there's another person called 7th Mayu? The White Sand City Lord thought to himself. More than 2 hours passed. A white-robed figure walked into the hall. The emissary has arrived. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master looked down. Monarch Mo Shui, the White Sand City Lord, the Mo Yun City Lord, Marshal Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, and King Ronghai were all looking at this white-robed figure. This was the emissary sent by the Bloodshed God Palace. Greetings, Prefecture Master. The white-robed figure respectfully bowed before raising his head. This humble one has come under the orders of His Majesty to preside over the prefecture capital battles of the Myriad Flower Feast. Prefecture Master, you may oversee the entire process. Emin, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Emissary, please take a seat. Since you're here, I presume that the rules for the 3 selections have already been decided? The emissary walked to the first seat on the left and sat down before respectfully replying, "It has already been decided." Then you can begin the arrangements. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Approximately 32,000 deity experts had passed through the selections from various starfields within the Calm Sea Prefecture. In reality, many of them were not from the Calm Sea Prefecture. Some had come from the material world, while others had come from the Temporal Island or the Myriad God Palace. There were even some who had come from some of the more desolate empires. All of them were here to participate in the biggest event of the deity world. These experts were all waiting for the Calm Sea Prefecture's orders to begin the prefecture capital battles. Dongbua, a legion soldier shouted from the entrance of the cave. Very soon the door opened. Dongbua Shuiying, along with Jing Qiu and a group of Xia people, came to welcome him. Dongbua Shuiying immediately recognized this legion soldier as one of the soldiers led by Patrol Master Guan. The Patrol Master ordered me to deliver this to you. It contains the time and rules for the prefecture capital battles, as well as some simple arrangements. The Legion soldier handed over a golden scroll and said, "The patrol master also said that you shouldn't run around for the next few days. The prefecture capital battles will begin in 3 days." I understand. Dongbua Shuiying took the golden scroll, and the Legion soldier immediately left. Quick, take a look. The Purple Thunder Emperor Yun Hai and the others were all watching from the side. Dongbua Shuiying smiled as he unfurled the scroll. The process of the prefecture capital battles had always been the same, though there were some differences in the details. Ranking battle, arena battle, and survival battle. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. The prefecture capital battles were split into 3 rounds. Ranking battle. Approximately 32,000 deity experts would participate in the ranking battle. Based on their results, the top 1,000 would be chosen. The rest would be eliminated. Arena battle. Of the 1,000 experts, 250 would be chosen. In the survival battle, the last 100 would be decided from the last 250. These 100 would represent the Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace, where they would participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle in front of the strongest existence in the deity world, His Majesty the Bloodshed God Palace, as well as other powerful existences. I've only cultivated for about 2,000 years. As long as I can enter the Bloodshed God Palace and let the powerful existences see me, I'll be able to become their disciple, Dongbua Shuiying thought. Thus I only have one goal, to enter the top 100. If I can participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, my participation in the Myriad Flower Feast will be considered a success. The top 100. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the 3 rounds of the prefecture capital battles, his eyes flashing with sharpness. Star. Chapter 440. Within the courtyard, the Xia people were seated in groups of 2 or 3, eating, drinking and chatting. The prefectural capital battles have a total of 3 rounds. The first round has already eliminated over 30,000 deities. The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head and sighed. Out of 32,000 deities, only the top 1,000 will be selected. Only a dozen or so deities from each starfield can pass the preliminaries. Based on the ratio, it's normal for all the deities in a starfield to be wiped out in the ranking battles. I heard that the celestial starfield I'm from was completely wiped out in the ranking battles of the previous Myriad Flower Feast. Yunhai laughed. But I believe that with Dongbo's strength, he'll definitely be able to enter the top 1,000. Dongbo was able to deal with the fierce shaman warrior in a single move. Entering the top 1,000 shouldn't be a problem, the Dragon Mountain Emperor said. The group of Xia people was discussing among themselves. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. Everyone stop praising me. You're all more confident than I am. I also believe that Snow Eagle can do it, Jing Qiu, who was sitting beside him, said. It's a pity that the ranking battles aren't open to the public. We won't be able to see it at all. Right. It's actually not open to the public. What a pity, the Xia people all shook their heads and sighed. The prefectural capital battles were divided into 3 rounds. The first round was not open to the public. The arena battles and the survival battles were open to the public. After the ranking battles, the Kamsi Prefecture would publicly announce the top 1,000 deities. Those on the list would then proceed to the next round. Those not on the list? That would be the end of it. Of course, many deities fought too hard and died in the ranking battles. The deities all had very long lifespans. 3 short days passed in the blink of an eye. Dongbo, the patrol master has invited you over. The prefectural capital battles are about to begin. A soldier from the army came to inform him. Lead the way. Dongbo Shuiying left the room. Jing Qiu and the group of Xia people followed suit. Very quickly they arrived at the patrol master's residence. A large group of people had already gathered there, and the place was bustling with activity. Because they were participating in the prefecture capital battle, many of these god-rank experts had brought along a group of friends. 16 deities follow me. The rest of you wait here, Patrol Master Guan said loudly. The ranking battles are not open to the public. None of you will be able to see them, and neither will I. Once the ranking battle is over and the rankings are made public, everything will naturally be known. Yes. Second brother, you have to be careful. If you can't take it, just give up. Don't lose your life. Lord Commander, we're counting on you. There were sounds everywhere. Dongbo Shuiying also bade farewell to Jing Qiu, Yunhai, Violet Thunder, and the rest. After which, 7th Meiyu, Dongbo Shuiying, and the rest of the 16 deity realm experts followed Patrol Master Guan and set off. Groups of people descended from the sky like streams of light. After Dongbo Shuiying's group landed, they surveyed their surroundings. Almost all of them were God realm experts. Of course, there were also the patrol lords. The manor head is up ahead, Patrol Master Guan suddenly said. Dongbo Shuiying and the rest hurriedly raised their heads to look. There were 8 figures in the distance, and the one sitting at the center of the group was an amiable old man. Beside him was a white-bearded old man wearing a thick robe. Below the 2 of them were 6 figures, each of them emanating a vast and extraordinary aura. Dongbo Shuiying recognized the person with a single glance. The White Sand City Lord? The chubby White Sand City Lord swept his gaze across the group of people below, and his gaze landed on Dongbo Shuiying. He revealed a smile, and at the same time, a voice was transmitted directly into Dongbo Shuiying's ears. Dongbo, I've already spoken to the manor head and the others. I said that you would definitely be able to enter the top 100 and participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Don't disappoint me. Dongbo Shuiying felt helpless. This White Sand City Lord seemed to be more confident than him. At this moment, the white-bearded old man's gaze also swept over, landing on this region. The group of deity realm experts from the Mountain Wu Star Field, including Patrol Master Guan, felt their hearts tighten. What's going on? Why is he looking over here? Dongbo Shuiying and the others were puzzled. Only 7th Meiyu turned to look elsewhere. The white-bearded old man smiled and continued chatting with the Kamsi Prefecture Lord. Your Highness, 7th Mayu. Patrol Master Guan smiled and asked, "Do you know that senior?" "I don't," the white-robed handsome youth, 7th Mayu, coldly replied. Patrol Master Guan was startled, but he could only smile helplessly. Ordinary deities would not dare to speak to him in such a cold manner, but since this person had a Stage 2 world deity as his subordinate, he was clearly not someone he could afford to provoke. This old man. Dongbo Shuiying looked into the distance and began to ponder rapidly. Many images and information appeared in his mind. He was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, so he knew quite a bit about the major figures of the deity world. For him to be able to sit shoulder to shoulder with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord, he must be at least a Stage 4 world deity. There are only so many Stage 4 world deities in the deity world. From his appearance, is he Monarch Mo Shui? Good fellow. Dongbo Shuiying muttered to himself. Monarch Mo Shui is one of the strongest Stage 4 world deities, and he has lived for a very long time. His strength is probably comparable to my master, Sacred Master Crimson Dust. On the high platform, the emissary stood up and bowed to the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. Prefecture Lord, since all the starfields have arrived, shall I begin? Go ahead. The Calm Sea Prefecture Lord nodded. The emissary immediately walked to the front of the high platform and looked down at the numerous figures in the distance. In a clear voice he said, "By His Majesty's orders, I will be the one to preside over the prefecture capital battle, with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord overseeing it." His voice was vast and mighty, reverberating everywhere. Dongbo Shuiying and the others all raised their heads and listened attentively. The previous Starfield selections were merely a threshold to select deity experts who could be considered strong, the emissary said. The prefecture capital battle is the true bloodbath. It will select the 100 most outstanding deity experts, who will then head to the Bloodshed God Palace. The final competition will be held in front of His Majesty and all the other powerful existences. The prefecture capital battle is divided into 3 rounds, and today will be the first round, the ranking battles. The emissary waved his hand as he spoke. A scroll appeared in his hand, and as he threw it, it rapidly grew in size. This scroll was over 100 million kilometers long, and it floated high in the sky like a heavenly curtain. Following that, the huge scroll slowly unfurled. Within the scroll, one could vaguely see a world of its own, with mountains, rivers, and rivers. Every time I will send 1,000 deity experts in. The emissary's voice was vast and mighty, reverberating in everyone's ears. Batch by batch, when 31,865 deity experts have finished their battles, the ranking battles will come to an end. A detailed ranking will be determined based on the number of enemies you have killed, and the top 1,000 will be announced. As for the next 1,000, all of you will be eliminated. As for the rules, you should all be aware of them. The use of world deity treasures, blood-refined deity weapons, and other such items are prohibited, as well as some special treasures. Once discovered, you will be immediately executed, the emissary coldly instructed. If you find yourself unable to resist, just shout out that you admit defeat, and I will teleport you out. The emissary coldly explained the rules. As an emissary of His Majesty Blood Blade, he was not afraid of anyone. Even powerful existences were not allowed to cause trouble. Daring to disrupt the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast was tantamount to provoking His Majesty. The prefecture capital battle has begun. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissary said coldly. The first batch will enter first. Wah. As he spoke, an invisible energy enveloped the area below him. As a Stage 3 world deity, he easily grabbed 1,000 deity experts. In an instant, 1,000 figures were involuntarily dragged into the huge scroll in the sky. Upon touching the scroll, they were all sucked into it. Dongbo Shuiying and the other 30,000 deity experts all raised their heads to look at the huge scroll in the sky. Chapter 441. A few moments later, a blood-soaked figure was expelled from the giant scroll, falling from the sky. The deity expert regained his consciousness in midair, his face full of fear. He immediately realized that everyone below was looking at him, so he awkwardly descended to his original location. After all, he had been defeated too quickly, and it was too embarrassing. Whoosh, 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 the scroll was hundreds of millions of kilometers long, and as time passed, more and more heavily injured experts were expelled out of the scroll. More and more experts were expelled out of the scroll, and some even revealed their true forms. For example, there were experts from the beast race whose bodies were tens of thousands of kilometers long. There were also some rare creatures from the outsider race that revealed their true forms. After all, some techniques were more powerful when used in their true forms. Blood of various colors scattered in midair. Red blood, purple blood, green blood. Some of the expelled bodies had been torn apart before they could reform. As a deity, as long as their true deity heart was not destroyed, they could live. How was it? How was it inside? What's the situation inside the scroll world? Many deity experts surrounded the expelled experts and asked. The expelled expert's bloodstains had already disappeared, but his face was still pale. He had yet to calm down. He frowned as he looked left and right, unwilling to say much. You will know once you enter. Dongbu Shuang also looked around. Those who had survived were unwilling to say much. After all, they were surrounded by competitors. Gradually, the number of expelled experts in the sky decreased. Occasionally, there would only be one. Wah! Another tall, silver-haired youth was expelled from the scroll world. He immediately stopped and frowned. The first batch is over. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary coldly said from the distant platform. His voice reverberated throughout the world. The silver-haired youth, who was the last to be expelled, revealed a smile. He was clearly the last one to come out. Let me remind you once more. The ranking battle is based on your achievements in killing enemies. It is not based on how long you stay in the scroll world. The longer you stay, does not help your ranking. For example, the last person to come out of the first batch would be ranked below 200th, the Bloodshed God Palace emissary said coldly. Next batch. The silver-haired youth was stunned and his face turned red. He was furious, but he did not dare to vent his anger on the Bloodshed God Palace emissary. He immediately descended and remained silent. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissary's majestic power once again enveloped the 1,000 deity experts. All of them involuntarily soared into the sky like pebbles falling into a lake, disappearing into the giant scroll in the sky. In the first batch of 1,000, only 395 survived? Dongbu Shuang had been observing and could easily calculate the numbers. What about the remaining 605 God-grade experts? Did they all die inside? This is only the first round of the prefecture capital battle. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. The mortality rate was too high. A shrill scream reverberated in the sky. Fresh blood splattered in the air as a broken body was expelled. Only then did it begin to condense in midair. It condensed into a small, thin, gray-robed youth. He looked around in a somewhat sorry state and hastily flew back to his position. The second batch of people that entered were also being expelled. One after another, the heavily injured figures were repelled. Boom! An enormous two-headed monster appeared in midair. Then it rapidly condensed into a human form and descended. The majority of those expelled were heavily injured. Clearly, none of them would easily give up until the very last moment. Being able to pass through the Starfield selections, they all had their own pride. Batch after batch, in the blink of an eye, 10 batches had already entered. The 16 deity experts of the Mountain Wu Star Field had yet to be chosen. The 10th batch has ended. As of now, there are already 10,000 deity experts. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary swept his gaze across the crowd with a cold gaze. You overestimate yourselves. You overestimate yourselves too much. You've already sensed the danger and are starting to get injured, yet you still want to persevere and kill more enemies. However, the enemy's strength might suddenly surpass your limits, so much so that you won't even have the chance to admit defeat before dying. Alright, next batch. Wah! The 11th batch was enveloped and all of them were pulled into the sky. Dongbu Shuang immediately discovered that there were people from his Mountain Wu Star Field being pulled in this time. However, only 7 people from his Mountain Wu Star Field had been pulled in, and one of them was the red-haired man with the extremely baleful aura. Gradually they were eliminated one by one. The red-haired man was also expelled. His injuries were extremely severe, but he quickly recovered in midair. After landing, he coldly raised his head and looked at the giant scroll in the sky, as well as the other experts who had been expelled. Finally, it was the 12th batch's turn. The emissary on the high platform looked down, his gaze sweeping across the Mountain Wu Star Field. As the host of the prefecture capital battle, he naturally had access to a large amount of information. He knew which of the deity experts from the Kamsi prefecture were dazzling enough, and which of them had extremely powerful backgrounds. He would also separate them into batches so that he could observe them more closely. Phew! An invisible force enveloped him. Me? Dongbu Shuang immediately felt himself being enveloped by that invisible force. In the blink of an eye he shot into the sky, flying towards the giant scroll. As he raised his head, he saw that the giant scroll was getting closer and closer to him. Just like the other deity experts, he slammed into the scroll. Before he slammed into it, Dongbua Shuiying discovered that the person flying towards the scroll with him was Her Highness 7th Meiyu, whom he was rather familiar with. Brother Mo Shui, your daughter has entered. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master also looked at the scroll. His gaze easily pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior. He saw the situation of the 1,000 deity experts, and naturally he discovered 7th Meiyu as well. Brother Long, why don't you take a look at my little daughter? Monarch Mo Shui stroked his snow-white beard in a rather pleased manner. His gaze similarly pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior and observing everything. This batch is interesting. The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity laughed. There's Monarch Mo Shui's daughter, Zhang Xiao, the inner disciple of the primal ivory powerhouse, and that little fellow named Dongbua that Brother White Sand thinks highly of. Let's all make a bet on who do you think will be the strongest in this batch? Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard as he swept his gaze across the surroundings. Your Highness 7th Meiyu, the silver-armored Martial Qin casually said as she raised her cup of wine. Then I'll bet on the one called Zhang Xiao. He was able to rise from a nobody to become an inner disciple of a powerful existence. His comprehension ability isn't low at all, the handsome Mo Yun added. The yellow-robed woman hurriedly shouted, Big Brother Ronghai, what about you? King Ronghai laughed. Following Brother Mo Yun is definitely the right choice. I'll also choose Zhang Xiao. Little sister Venomous Ying, you haven't made your choice yet. As a woman, I'll naturally choose Her Highness 7th Meiyu, the yellow-robed woman said. I'll also make a bet. I'll choose my own daughter. Monarch Mo Shui laughed from above. If I lose, each of you will receive a flask of bamboo flame snow nectar. Since that's the case, I'll also bet on Zhang Xiao. I know that little fellow's strength and he's not bad, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master said. If I lose, each of the winners will receive a Calm Sea Spirit Pearl. Bamboo Flame Snow Nectar. It's unique to the Mo Shui Empire. Even though this junior is the host, I can't help myself. I'll also bet on Zhang Xiao. The emissary laughed. At that moment, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said, a total of 8 people. For we'll bet on Zhang Xiao and 3 on Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Big Brother White Sand, you're the only one who'll choose your brother Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord glared. The Prefecture Master and the Monarch have both taken out their bets. What about the rest of you? Hurry up and take them out. Even though he was shouting arrogantly, the White Sand City Lord was inwardly anxious. Brother Dongbua, you must not let me down. He had long since said that he favored Dongbua. Thus, even if he were to really bet, he would still stand on Dongbua Shuiying's side for the sake of his reputation. But deep in his heart, even though the White Sand City Lord believed that Dongbua Shuiying had a chance of entering the top 100, he was not confident that he could compete with Zhang Xiao and 7th Meiyu. After all, Zhang Xiao had a powerful existence guiding him in his cultivation, while 7th Meiyu had her father guiding her. Monarch Mo Shui might be weaker in terms of realm compared to powerful existences, but he would definitely do his best to help his daughter. But even if he was not confident, he still had to hold on for the sake of his reputation. The White Sand City Lord looked up at the sky. The emissary from the Bloodshed God Palace did not obstruct the spectators from watching the battle from the high platform. The White Sand City Lord's gaze pierced through the scroll world and landed on one of the more desolate areas. Shuiying was currently standing on a beach. Chapter 442. Island Ocean. Dongbua Shuiying landed on the beach of the island. The sand was as white as snow without any dirt on it. The heaven and earth light within the scroll world was slightly cold. Shuiying looked around him and with a glance he saw an hourglass floating in midair. Within the hourglass there was a glowing time sand. The time sand had already begun flowing. Black energy gathered on the island, forming 10 black-robed men. They were dressed in the same robes and even their appearances were the same. However, the weapons they carried were different. Some were wielding dual swords, some were spears, some were short spears, some were whips and some were chains. The moment they appeared, they charged towards Nye Tian. Some of them flew at high speed, some instantly passed through the Mirage realm, some hid in the shadow space and some transformed into flames. The way they charged towards Nye Tian was different, and their fighting styles were also different. Come. With a thought, a starry blue-robed Dongbua Shuiying appeared beside Dongbua Shuiying. The two Dongbua Shuang each held a spear. One was a black spear and the other was a fiery red spear. The one holding the fiery red spear was the Mirage True Body. The more I kill, the higher my ranking will be. Let's kill. The two Dongbua Shuang moved at the same time. Pooh! The spear pierced through the chest of one of the black-robed men in front of Nie Tian. The black-robed man dissipated. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. Shio shio shio. The Mirage True Body shot out 3 consecutive spears, each imbued with the profundity of extreme piercing. They instantly pierced through the throats of 3 black-robed men attacking from different directions. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. They were too lazy to use their secret techniques. With the speed and strength of the 3rd-level time immemorial body, Nie Tian could kill them easily even if he used the profundity of extreme piercing and star force. Every time he killed one, a new black-robed man would appear on the island. The sand of time in the hourglass would also turn upside down and start flowing again. When the enemy was not killed for a long time, the sand of time would be expelled. However, most of them surrendered voluntarily or died in battle. Very few of them were expelled because of the sand of time. Their strength increased so quickly? Dongbua Shuang frowned. He killed them very quickly. His main body and his Mirage True Body fought at the same time, and their strength and profundity of laws were increasing as well. However, the black-robed man who was born later on became even stronger. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the black-robed man's strength had risen to the threshold of world deity. This was not just in terms of strength and speed, but also in the laws of profound mysteries. Furthermore, they would surround and attack him at the same time, forcing Shuang to increase his speed in dealing with them one by one. He did not dare to let them surround him. Fortunately, they were scattered all over the island. As long as Shuang continued to move and kill his enemies, they would not be able to surround him. I have to use my secret technique. When Dongbua Shuang faced an enemy who had reached the threshold of a world deity, the spear technique he displayed changed. His main move was the chaotic suppression, which was more inclined towards strength. Ping ping ping. The long spear swept out in succession, and wherever the long spear passed, the surroundings fell into darkness and began to collapse. The first spear strike caused the shield in the black-robed man's hand to scatter. The second spear strike struck his chest, causing it to cave in. The third spear strike directly shattered the black-robed man's body. Violence. Rude and unreasonable. Dongbua Shuang appeared to be very reserved, but the techniques he was using now were more ferocious. However, he only managed to kill one of the black-clothed men with 3 consecutive spear strikes. The other black-clothed men had already started to surround him, and a new, stronger black-clothed man was born in the distance. This made Dongbua Shuang feel pressured. Every time he used the chaotic suppression he would gain new insights. Not ruthless enough. The energy transfer isn't smooth enough. If it's truly smooth, I should be able to completely transmit it into his body without being affected by his weapon. With that, I should be able to kill him in one move. The pressure was increasing, but Dongbua Shuang was extremely excited. This was exactly what he needed. Moreover, the 10 opponents had different styles, and the laws of profound mysteries they displayed were completely different. This kind of pressure was much better than burying his head in cultivation. Hoo. One by one, the heavily injured figures on the huge scroll were repelled and dropped. Dongbua and His Highness 7th Meiyu have yet to come out. The two of them are extremely powerful. I wonder how long they can last. Everyone in Mountain Wu Star Field was discussing this matter. TSK. Old brother White Sand, this little brother Dongbua of yours should have learned a world deity secret technique, right? Moreover, his realm is quite high. Every move he makes is so powerful. King Ronghai looked at the battle taking place in the sky and sighed in admiration. He even has a mirage avatar. TSK. His killing speed is on par with His Highness 7th Meiyu. He's even faster than Zhongxiao. This Dongbua is still relying on his mirage avatar. His Highness 7th Meiyu is truly fast, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity praised. His Highness 7th Meiyu's swordsmanship and movement technique are truly perfect, the Ink Cloud City Lord praised. Ha ha ha. Monarch Imo Shui laughed from above. They could clearly see the battle taking place within the enormous scroll. Her Highness 7th Meiyu was within a forest, surrounded by numerous black-robed men. However, 7th Meiyu had already transformed into an illusion. Misty illusions appeared all around her, and every single one of these illusions was brandishing their swords to kill her enemies. There were even petals floating around her, each of which contained a terrifying might as they wantonly reaped the lives of the black-robed men. Her Highness's sword is sufficiently cold and straightforward. Marshal Qin revealed a smile. Through her sword technique I can feel her will. Her will and sword have fused as one, allowing her to kill all her enemies. For Her Highness to be able to create such a sword technique and have such an unshakable will, I believe that if this continues she'll definitely break through the final barrier and become a world deity. It seems like we're going to win, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. Don't celebrate too early. The emissary beside her chuckled. Zhang Xiao hasn't used his full strength yet, but he's starting to do so now. Zhang Xiao was using a pair of blades. Previously he had relied on a world deity secret technique to use ordinary blade techniques, but now he was revealing his own blade technique secret technique. Two bewitching blood-colored streams of light flickered time and time again, each flash accompanied by an ear-piercing whistling sound as if a bird was crying out in pain. The black-robed men were continuously being killed amidst the whistling sounds. His killing speed immediately soared, clearly surpassing that of Dongbo Shuiying and 7th Meiyu. Naturally, the number of black-robed men he was killing soared higher and higher. He surpassed them. The Ink Cloud City Lord chuckled. He's already the fastest of them all. Zhang Zhao's blade technique is none other than a blade technique of slaughter. On the beach, Dongbo Shuiying was still fighting to his heart's content. The efficiency of his chaotic suppression was getting lower and lower. After all, it was a technique that focused more on pure strength. The 10 black-robed men specialized in different aspects, and some of them had extremely strong defenses, allowing them to resist Dongbo Shuiying's spear technique. Dongbo Shuiying and his Mirage True Body worked together to fight with all their might. Even so, they still couldn't hold on much longer. Not enough strength? Then I'll just have to increase my strength. The great chaotic true force within Dongbo Shuiying's body began to surge, and the great chaotic true force, which he had cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm, was immediately unleashed. The power of his spear abruptly increased. Pum. The black-robed men who could not be killed even after 8 to 10 moves were instantly blasted apart by a single sweep of the spear. They were both at the pinnacle of the deity realm, but the great chaotic true force was clearly stronger than the time immemorial body. Ping 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 ping. One by one the black-robed men were blasted apart. No matter how strong they were, the spear would crush them with pure strength. This was also the reason why Dongbo Shuiying did not use the great chaotic true force previously. Only when one's strength was close would it have the effect of tempering oneself. Otherwise the effect would be too weak. Clearly, as the black-robed men grew stronger, Dongbo Shuiying's strength also grew stronger. Chapter 443. The great chaotic true force combined with the chaotic suppression was naturally very effective. The black-robed men that he had created were constantly being destroyed. Only after he had destroyed 30 of them did he meet an opponent that could exchange a few blows with him. This is more interesting. Shuiying was fighting to his heart's content with a black-robed man who had turned into a lightning. This lightning black-robed man wielded 2 spears, and his movement speed far surpassed Shuiying's. Every move he sent enveloped Shuiying. His attacks were extremely fast. Although Dongbo Shuiying's speed was not as fast as the black-robed man, he could still sweep and whip his spear. With each sweep of the spear, a large group of black-robed men would be struck. With each whip, another large group of black-robed men would be struck. This made it very difficult for Dongbo Shuiying to dodge. Furthermore, his spear technique could produce a terrifying gravitational force that could cause the world to collapse. It didn't matter if one was hiding in the Mirage Realm or the Shadow Realm. The chaotic hole was originally one of the final forms of the world. Shuiying's chaotic suppression secret skill already had a few hints of the color of a chaotic hole. As long as the spear brushed past them, those with weaker bodies would immediately explode. Even those with stronger bodies would be heavily injured. In just 2 or 3 blows they would die. It's getting harder and harder. His Mirage Realm body fought against a black-robed man with extremely strong defenses. After more than 10 exchanges, he was still unable to kill his opponent. His true body continued to kill the other opponents that he could restrain. The ranking battle isn't too difficult. After all, there are only 10 opponents at any given moment. I can't increase the number of opponents. Dongbo Shuiying thought to himself. Furthermore, the strength of these black-robed men will gradually increase. To me, this is a rare opportunity to train. Dongbo Shuiying was completely immersed in his spear technique. Almost all of his moves were the chaotic suppression. This was a secret technique that Dongbo Shuiying constantly pursued to the extreme. This was a dark, desolate plain. Hua hua hua, Zhang Zhao's face was ugly and there were 2 scars on his face. After becoming a deity he could easily get rid of the scars, but Zhang Zhao still kept them. Wielding 2 blades, his figure was like a ghost, disappearing and reappearing again and again in this dark wasteland. He could appear anywhere in the surroundings at any time. His 2 blades had even turned into a demonic blood-red blade light. The saber light whistled, ear-piercing and mournful. The black-clothed men were cut down one by one as if they were harvesting wheat. The speed at which Zhang Zhao killed his enemies was simply too fast, especially after he used his secret skill. This reckless cutting speed was even above that of Dongbua Shuiying and 7th Meiyu. His eyes were filled with coldness, and he mercilessly slashed at will, displaying his saber skills to his heart's content. This was a pure killing saber technique. Clang clang. Their weapons clashed and Zhang Zhao's figure flickered. A strange saber light slashed out, cutting down another black-clothed man. It's starting to get obstructed. Zhang Zhao knew this, but he still showed no mercy. Gradually, the strength of the black-clothed men grew stronger and stronger. At first, there was a man with a strong defense who could fight him. Then there was a man with a faster speed who could also fight him. As time went on, the black-clothed men became more and more difficult to kill. Pooh! When a sword slashed across Zhang Zhao's body, blood splattered. I concede. Zhang Zhao's cold eyes did not waver in the slightest. He was cold to his enemies and cold to himself. He had long since set the rule that he would concede the first time he was injured. No matter how light the injury, he had to concede. A wave of energy enveloped Zhang Zhao, and he was immediately transported out of the world of the scroll. He was expelled into the air. He raised his head to look at the enormous scroll in the sky, as well as the deity experts who were occasionally expelled. Clearly, Zhang Zhao had not been able to fight for long in this world. However, he was very confident. His killing speed was simply too fast. In fact, he could kill 10 times faster than an ordinary deity. Zhang Zhao descended to the ground. He was extremely calm, confident in himself. Zhang Zhao has conceded. Everyone on the high platform was paying close attention to the battle. The emissary even laughed. He might have admitted defeat, but his killing speed is truly fast. After using his secret skill, his speed far exceeds that of Dongbo and His Highness 7th Meiyu. He might have been the first to concede, but his killing speed far exceeds that of Dongbua and 7th Meiyu. That's hard to say. Look at how fast Dongbua is killing, the White Sand City Lord said. They could clearly see Dongbua Shuiying unleashing his great chaotic true force and slaughtering his enemies. However, his killing speed had already begun to slow down. His strength is truly powerful. It's a pure world deity grade secret technique. Marshal Qin nodded in praise. His secret technique is quite suitable for unleashing his strength, but he's reached a bottleneck. I'm afraid he won't be able to increase his strength any further. His secret technique is already formidable enough, and it won't be long before it stops. It's indeed starting to slow down, but he'll probably end up a level lower than Zhang Zhao. The venomous Ying world deity agreed. His Highness 7th Meiyu is truly formidable. His Highness has yet to reach his limit. Indeed. Marshal Qin agreed. This brat sword technique isn't just fast, it's exquisite as well. The Calm Sea Prefecture master smiled as he evaluated. In terms of sword techniques, this brat's speed is above Dongbua and Zhang Zhao. However, her sword techniques are even more perfect, allowing her to kill her enemies with a single strike. If she can't kill them with a single strike, she'll use 8 or 10 consecutive strikes. Her sword technique is like a trap, easily trapping the enemy. Furthermore, her sword technique has even formed its own domain. It's truly a perfect secret technique. She even possesses a domain. In my opinion, she's even more formidable than Zhang Zhao. I'm getting old and I've made a mistake this time. I'm going to lose. Ha ha ha. Monarch Imo Shui burst into laughter. This daughter of mine truly pursues perfection. If she can kill her enemies with just a sliver of her strength, she definitely won't use any more. She clearly has quite a few world deity grade secret techniques, yet she's never been in a rush to use them. The Calm Sea Prefecture master shook his head. Formidable. Truly formidable. Everyone below was gradually discovering how formidable 7th Meiyu was. 7th Meiyu's killing speed wasn't as fast as Dongbua Shuiying's, nor was it as fast as Zhang Zhao's. However, her sword techniques gave them a sense of perfection. In the deity realm, even stage 3 world deities felt that she was perfect in every aspect. Even when facing a difficult opponent, 7th Meiyu had a way to deal with them. she killed them one by one. If she couldn't deal with them, she would even switch to another world deity grade secret technique. That's right. 7th Mayu had many world deity grade secret techniques, and from the way they watched the battle, they could guess that she had at least 4 world deity grade secret techniques at her disposal. She was far above Zhangxiao. She was killing and harvesting without stop. 7th Mayu was incomparably calm. To her, displaying her sword techniques was a form of enjoyment, a form of absolute enjoyment. Gradually, Dongbo Shui Ying's spear techniques were no longer able to suppress her enemies, and her killing had fallen into a predicament. She had surpassed Dongbo Shui Ying, and was even gradually surpassing Zhang Zhao's achievements. You said that her talent and comprehension are comparable to that of your eldest daughter. That is indeed true. The Kamsi Prefecture Master raised his head to look at the scene within the giant scroll, then turned to smile. Old man, you really know how to give birth and you even know how to teach your child. How did you teach your youngest daughter? Haha. Monarch Emo Shui laughed. I hope to see her become a stage 3 world deity. At that time I'll seal my memories and reincarnate so there'll be nothing to worry about. Emo Shui, how much longer can you hold on for? The Kamsi Prefecture Master transmitted. Hold on for what? I usually hide in my Eden to control the flow of time, Monarch Emo Shui replied. AI old dragon, I really don't dare to reincarnate. After all, I've lived for far too long and I've been implicated in too many grudges. I'll just have to drag it out until I can't hold on any longer. At that point, I'll have no choice but to seal my memories and reincarnate. Sealing one's memories and reincarnating. It was similarly dangerous. It would be fine if one could become a deity and awaken their memories, but if one were to cultivate step by step from a mortal without even becoming a deity, they would die forever. As a result, there were a few old world deities who chose to seal their memories and reincarnate, never to be heard from again. After all, without the advantage of their memories, they might be born a slave, unable to even come into contact with cultivation techniques. They might even be used as experimental materials by mages to test their souls, causing their souls to scatter. All of these were very possible. I envy you, old dragon. You were born as a mutated beast, so your temperament is weak, making it easier for you to guard your heart, Monarch Emo Shui transmitted. Without stepping out of the river of time and transcending the shackles, there is no such thing as true immortality, the Kamsi Prefecture Master added. These two old fellows had lived for a long time, so they naturally had a common language. If I die, I won't care about anything else. However, I hope that you can take care of my daughters when you can, Monarch Emo Shui transmitted. If I can help, I'll naturally do my best. Moreover, your daughter should be able to take on a powerful existence as her master. The Kamsi Prefecture Master nodded. He then raised his head to look at the sky and laughed. Brother Emo Shui, your youngest daughter has also come out. Monarch Emo Shui raised his head and saw Her Highness, 7th Mayu, who had been expelled. 7th Mayu was still dressed in white, though there were some blood stains on her palms. The bloodstains instantly disappeared and she safely descended. Chapter 444. With our meager strength, there's no hope for us. Still, being able to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast and witness such a scene is worth it. Two deities were chatting as they looked around them. The Starfield Patrol Guards were all world deities, and their auras were vast and mighty. Nearly 2,000 world deities. There's also the Kamsi Prefecture's second-rank legion, the Kamsi Legion. One of them, a tall and skinny man, looked at the distant high platform. The platform was suffused with pressure, and even King Rong Hai, who was seated at the edge, was enough to make these deity experts tremble from the bottom of their hearts. There was no need to even mention the Kamsi Prefecture Master and Monarch Emo Shui, who were as ancient as the world itself. The Kamsi Prefecture Master and Monarch Emo Shui sat there as if they were the beginning and the end of everything. They were the core of the laws of the world. This formless pressure was an instinctive reverence for life. It's truly worth it to be able to witness such a thing. Aside from this moment, we'll probably never get to see an existence like the Kamsi Prefecture Master in our entire lives. Despite their fear and reverence, many deity experts were secretly watching. Everything they experienced this time would become a topic of conversation for many years to come. After all, only 100 deities were qualified to represent the Kamsi Prefecture at the Bloodshed God Palace. 7th Mayu descended to the side of the Mountain Wu Starfield Patrol Guards. She looked around. Brother Dongbua isn't done yet? Dongbua Shuang was indeed not done yet. He was in a sorry state and his chaotic suppression was no longer of much use. With the help of his mirage body, he was barely holding on, constantly using chaotic suppression. He was doing his best to maintain this state for as long as possible, but the black-robed men were gradually encircling him. Good, very good. The chaotic suppression truly has too many flaws. Under the extreme pressure, Ying felt an even greater desire for this move of his. His heart was filled with joy. One of his main goals in participating in the Myriad Flower Feast was to temper himself through combat so that he could grasp hold of the Grade 1 deity heart, the chaotic deity heart, as soon as possible. That way he would be able to become a Stage 2 world deity. I can't hold on any longer. These black-robed men are too strong. I can't hold on any longer. Dongbu Ying's spear technique changed. Whoosh. The originally brutal chaotic hole suppression suddenly changed its trajectory, drawing an arc with terrifying penetrative power. A scene of a star expanding, exploding, and rapidly collapsing and annihilating appeared around the spear. The tip of the spear instantly pierced through the chest of the black-clothed man in front of him, causing him to shatter and dissipate. Secret skill, Star Meteor Annihilation. In terms of strength, the chaotic hole crush was the strongest. However, combat wasn't just about strength. In terms of ultimate moves, the Star Meteor Annihilation was the strongest ultimate move. Moreover, Dongbu Ying had many other secret techniques. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. For a moment, countless spear shadows streaked across the sky, faintly resembling the phantom of a meteor. In an instant, the 8 black-robed men were forced to retreat. Secret skill, Stellar Cluster. As Dongbu Ying executed all of his secret techniques, it was extremely difficult for the men in black to surround him, and they were easily killed. Their physical defenses were strong enough to withstand the whipping, but not many of them could withstand the piercing power of Star Meteor Annihilation. Ha! The White Sand City Lord, who had been keeping a low profile and eating, suddenly stood up and laughed. I told you that my brother Dongbu is the strongest. Look, TSK, this strength, this speed of slaughter, it's too early for you to be happy. So many secret skills. Extreme piercing? Mirage? Star? Space? A brat like him has grasped 4 Grade 2 deity hearts? And he has grasped so many secret skills? Especially the Mirage deity heart, which allows him to have a Mirage body. Is the same as having 2 of them fighting together. Martial Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, the Ink Cloud City Lord, King Ronghai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace were all shocked. Previously, Dongbu Ying had only used brute force. Although he had occasionally used extreme piercing, the only secret skill he had used was the chaotic hole crush. This had led them to believe that Dongbu Ying had only grasped one secret skill. Kill. Just the Star Meteor Annihilation alone was already more effective than the chaotic hole crush. Not to mention the fact that he had so many secret skills. In a short period of time, black-robed man after black-robed man was killed. Not long after, Dongbu Ying's kill count had surpassed Zhang Xiao's. He is indeed stronger than Zhang Xiao, but there should be a gap between him and Her Highness 7th Meiyu, Martial Qin said softly. Let's wait and see. The Ink Cloud City Lord frowned. Of the 8 present, 4 had bet on Zhang Xiao, including the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. They had first eliminated Dongbu Ying and then 7th Meiyu. This was because they felt that Her Highness 7th Meiyu might have been nurtured by Monarch Mo Shui, but her comprehension ability might not be high enough. She might not be able to compare to Zhang Xiao, who had risen from the bottom. In reality, however, Her Highness 7th Meiyu was truly a genius. She had a complete set of secret skills and they were all extremely perfect. Currently, the one who was the least favored, the one called Dong Bo, who seemed to only know how to use brute force, actually knew other moves? Was his previous arrogance just a lie? His secret skill is also quite perfect, but it's still a bit lacking compared to Her Highness 7th Meiyu. He has only cultivated for a short period of time, while Her Highness 7th Meiyu has cultivated for more than 80,000 years. This Dongbu has only cultivated for 2,000 years, so it's normal for him to have some flaws in his secret skill. However, he has the Mirage deity heart, which means that there are 2 of him fighting at the same time. Furthermore, his Mirage body doesn't fear death, which is why I feel that he might be able to kill more enemies than Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Time passed second by second. Dongbu Ying's battle was getting more and more strenuous. After all, the black-clothed men were endlessly improving, and they would eventually catch up to him. Hong Long, the attacks of these black-clothed men were already extremely terrifying. Every single one of them could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. Let's begin the final fight. Dongbua Shuiying was starting to fight with his life on the line, even using his body to block the attacks. Time immemorial body. It was the best at preserving his life. Back in Crimson Rock Mountain, Dongbua Shuiying had tested the limits of the 3rd level of his time immemorial body, as well as the limits of the 4th level. That was why he was so confident. Good fellow. He cultivates a world deity grade secret technique that allows him to preserve his life. Furthermore, he has cultivated it to the grand circle of the deity realm. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master, Monarch Mo Shui, and the others who were watching from the high platform could not help but laugh. The 2 old men even exchanged glances and laughed. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master even laughed. Haha, who would have thought that the 2 of us would lose? I've won. I've killed everyone, I've killed everyone. The White Sand City Lord grinned from ear to ear. Previously, Dongbua Shuiying's kill count was close to that of 7th Meiyu's, especially after he used his body to block the attacks. The yellow-robed venomous Ing world deity Marshal Qin, the Ink Cloud City Lord King Rong Hai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace all felt helpless, but they had nothing to say. They had lost wholeheartedly. This Dongbo's combat power was indeed stronger. From what they could see, he had at least 2 world deity grade secret techniques, and both of them had been cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm. It must be stated that there were quite a few who had obtained world deity grade secret techniques, but reaching the pinnacle of the deity realm was extremely difficult. His great chaotic true force had reached the pinnacle of the deity realm, and Dongbua Shuiying had only broken through after passing through the starfield selections. As for his time immemorial body, he had broken through after reaching the stage 3 realm of the grade 1 true meaning of the world. I admit defeat. Dongbua Shuiying's body was indeed tough enough. The black-robed men were unable to injure him, but they were still able to surround Dongbua Shuiying's true body and surround him. He did not continue fighting and immediately admitted defeat. Wah! He was expelled and appeared in mid-air. Dongbua Shuiying could see the large number of figures below him. At the same time, a voice rang in his ears, "The 12th batch has ended." This voice reverberated throughout the entire world. For a time, all the spectators below turned their gazes towards Dongbua Shuiying in mid-air. Even the existences on the high platform looked at him. Because Dongbua Shuiying had indeed dragged on for a very long time. Relying on his immortal body, he dragged on the battle until the very end. I'm really the last one to come out. Dongbua Shuiying thought, I wonder what my ranking will be. Dongbua Shuiying immediately flew in the direction of the Mountain Wu star field. At another location, Zhang Xiao coldly looked at the descending Dongbua Shuiying. He had come out very early. So what if he's the last one to come out? This brat might not even be able to enter the top 1,000. Brother Dongbua, not bad, not bad. You're really not bad. After the prefecture capital battle ends, I have a gift for you. On the high platform, the White Sand City Lord was beaming as he looked at the descending Shuiying. He had even transmitted a message directly into Shuiying's ears. He was truly happy because he had won this wager. Hearing the voice of the White Sand City Lord, Dongbua Shuiying jumped in fright. He quickly descended. The white-robed handsome teenager, His Highness 7th Meiyu, laughed. Brother Dongbua is actually the last one to come out. Furthermore, he isn't injured at all. I'm impressed. Coming out the last one doesn't mean that he's the best. We'll know when the rankings are out, Dongbua Shuiying said. Chapter 445. Calm Sea Prefecture Capital, within Dongbua Shuiying's cave abode in the Bloodshed Domain. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people were all gathered here, all concerned about the ranking battle for the Myriad Flower Feast. I wonder how Dongbua is doing now. This scroll world seems to be very dangerous. The Cloud Sea Emperor raised his head and looked at the distant sky. He could see the huge scroll in the sky, and occasionally he could see figures being expelled from the scroll. Blood splattered everywhere, and occasionally miserable screams could be heard. This caused the hearts of the Cloud Sea Emperor and the others to tighten. Don't worry. Dongbua is very powerful. He won't have any problems in the ranking battle. Even in the worst-case scenario, Dongbua is still a lord of a material realm. The Dragon Mountain Emperor laughed heartily. That's right, I can easily cultivate another avatar. What nonsense are you spouting? The Purple Thunder Emperor glared. How could anything happen to Dongbua? In this ranking battle, Dongbua is going to become the disciple of a powerful existence. Old brother Purple Thunder, I was wrong. I was wrong. I will accept my punishment. The Dragon Mountain Emperor hurriedly picked up the wine cup beside him and gulped it down. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed as well. Dragon Mountain, is this what you call accepting your punishment? This wine is made by Dongbua himself, and I heard from Dongbua that he obtained it from the Crimson Rock Mountain. The Dragon Mountain Emperor chuckled. Jing Qiu watched from the side, but she was constantly observing the huge scroll in the sky. Suddenly she stood up. It's Dongbua. Dongbua. Everyone turned to look. They were all deities, so they could clearly see that the figure being expelled was indeed Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua Shuiying was not injured at all. At this moment, a sonorous voice rang out. The 12th batch has ended, following which they saw Dongbua Shuiying descend. Dongbua is the last one to come out of the 12th batch. The last one to come out might be the one who killed the most enemies. Yes. Look at Dongbua. In the end, he didn't have any injuries on his body. He didn't even have any bloodstains. The Xia people heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Dongbua Shuiying coming out alive. Although they thought that the possibility of Dongbua dying inside was extremely low, they still couldn't be at ease until they saw him with their own eyes. This is only the 12th batch. Looks like the ranking battle will take at least another day. One of the muscular Xia people, Monarch Fiery Tiger, said hurriedly, and now that Dongbua has come out, there's nothing to see. Are we just going to wait here foolishly? How about we go out for a walk? After arriving at the Calm Sea Prefecture city, I didn't even have the time to take a good look around before coming here. Go out and take a look. Brother Fierce Tiger, where is this place? This is the prefecture city. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. Even world deities are nothing here. There are plenty of people with powerful backgrounds. The descendants of powerful existences, the descendants of the Calm Sea Prefecture master, or even the heirs of foreign empires. They might not have much of a future in terms of cultivation, but they are top-notch when it comes to harming others, Yunhai said. When we first arrived, we saw some of the descendants of the luxurious clans roaming about in carriages, but they seemed to be quite well behaved. You're wrong. Monarch Scarlet Flame, who had a saber strapped to his back, coldly said, since we're following the group participating in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, it's only natural that no one would dare to offend us. But if we go out alone, we'll have to be obedient and keep a low profile. Although the descendants of the luxurious clans here are much more well-behaved than those in the capital cities of the Starfield, if they're in the mood to capture 8 or 10 deities and engage in a bloody battle, if they happen to capture you, you'll be in trouble. Monarch Fiery Tiger was dumbfounded. After all, this was his first time coming to the prefecture city. Under normal circumstances, it's a rare chance for us to come to the prefecture city, and it's fine to take a little risk, Monarch Scarlet Flame indifferently said. But now we're following Dongbua. Dongbua's future is limitless. It won't be long before we who follow him will be accepted into the Bloodshed God Palace. We'll have a higher rank. When that time comes, our statuses will be different. Why would you want to go out now? Fierce Tiger nodded. Of the group of Xia people present, with the exception of a few who were reluctant to leave their territories in the deity world, the majority were willing to follow Dongbua Shuiying. The more they experienced, the more they understood how rare it was to be able to follow Dongbua Shuiying. To this, Dongbua Shuiying was very welcoming. The deeper he established himself in the deity world, the more helpers he would need. The ancestral deities of the Xia people were naturally the most suitable. Furthermore, Dongbua Shuiying was very happy to be able to help the ancestral deities of the Xia people. More than a day passed. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people had mostly stayed in their caverns. At most, they would stroll around the Bloodshed region. Soon, they discovered Dongbua Shuiying's return. The ranking battles were over and they all returned. Brother Dongbua's combat power is superb. It'll be easy for him to pass the ranking battles, and he might even be able to enter the Bloodshed God Palace. Haha, you're overpraising me. Even if the two of you fail, it'll be easy for you to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and obtain a higher rank. Furthermore, the ranking battles haven't been decided yet, so anything is possible. Dongbua Shuiying and the other two deities walked side by side as they chatted. Soon they separated and flew back to their own caverns. Dongbua Shuiying flew back to his own caverns. Snow Eagle. Dongbua. Jing Qiu and the others were all waiting at the entrance to welcome Dongbua Shuiying. How was it? Jing Qiu asked. How did the ranking battles of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast go? It was all right. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. I'm confident of getting into the top 1,000. He was modest in front of others, but Dongbua Shuiying didn't care too much about it in front of his friends and family. We'll have to wait 3 days for the detailed ranking battles. Yunhai shook his head from the side. AI, since the battles have ended, the ranking battles should have been decided easily. Yet we're still waiting 3 days for it to be announced. Dongbo Shuang laughed. Firstly, we'll have to rewind time and check the previous battles to make sure there's no violation of the rules. Secondly, we'll have to find out who has potential, so that we can better allocate the rewards for the arena battles. I've heard that information on those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace. They'll also investigate their past experiences. Those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace? And they'll even investigate their past experiences? Everyone was startled. Dongbo Shuang laughed. He'd only found out about this from the treasure spirit, Crimson Rock. Right. Dongbo Shuang nodded. For instance, those who've never cultivated world deity-ranked secret techniques yet have high comprehension abilities will be at a disadvantage. The arena battles will definitely be arranged well. Furthermore, during the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast, His Majesty and other powerful existences will be spectating. If they fancy someone and want to take him in as a disciple, they'll naturally want to know the details. The Bloodshed God Palace will naturally have to collect information beforehand. His own information would most likely be collected as well. In the eyes of the Xia people, everything from his birth, his entry into Crimson Rock Mountain, his killing of the Sorcerer God and Great Sorcerer God's avatars, World Deity Wahai's avatars, and even his entry into the deity world would be investigated. Of course, he'd never divulged anything about his Grade 1 true meaning. If the Temporal Temple were to investigate with all their might, they might be able to find out, but even if they did, it couldn't leak it. As a treasure spirit, it had to follow the rules. Someone with high comprehension abilities yet never cultivated a world deity-ranked secret technique? The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head. Such cases are rare. Any transcendent with high talent would immediately attract attention, let alone someone who has become a deity. There was no need to even mention becoming a deity. Those with extremely high comprehension abilities after becoming a deity would have long since been discovered and taken in by some major powers. Many of them have even become stage 4 world deities or become disciples of powerful existences. Amen. There are many disciples of powerful existences during the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast, Dongbo Shuang said. Those who did not become world deities, even if they were disciples of powerful existences, they would only be honorary disciples or at most inner disciples. Their statuses were relatively low. Of course, Grade 1 true meaning transcendents were an exception. Powerful existences would treat Grade 1 true meaning transcendents as their most beloved children and nurture them with all their might. Although Dongbo Shuang would occasionally accompany Jingqiu and the deities of the Xia people, he spent most of his time meditating. This ranking battle had indeed given him many inspirations, especially the chaotic suppression. He had also begun to comprehend it, working hard to perfect it. 3 days was truly too short a period of time in cultivation. Without even sensing the passage of time, Dongbo Shuang heard his wife's voice from outside. Snow Eagle, come out quickly. The ranking has been announced. Jingqiu shouted. Star. Chapter 446. Hong Long, the stone door of the cultivation room opened, and Dongbo Shuang rushed out. Within the courtyard of the cavern dwelling, the Xia people and the deities all raised their heads to look at him. Jingqiu was waiting for Dongbo Shuang outside. Snow Eagle, look. Dongbo Shuang raised his head to look at the gigantic blood-colored scroll in the sky. The scroll was slowly unfurling and the names were already beginning to appear, starting from the very bottom. Rank 1000th, Lustrous Horn Starfield, Yen Feng. Names began to appear one after another. The words for the rank in Starfield were relatively small, while the names were relatively large. The deities of the Xia people, Jingqiu, and even Dongbo Shuang all raised their heads to look at the scroll nervously. His name had to appear on the rankings. If it wasn't, then his journey to the Myriad Flower Feast would be over. Haha, father, that's your name. Dongbo Shuang could clearly hear the sounds of joy coming from a cavern dwelling several dozen kilometers away. This was because the deities participating in the Myriad Flower Feast had all been arranged to stay in this area. The closest ones might be a few kilometers away, while the furthest would be a few million kilometers away. Even an ordinary cavern dwelling would occupy several kilometers. Congratulations, Brother Yuan. Voices could be heard from all over the place. Following the announcement of the rankings, A few of the names on the rankings were immediately overjoyed. Although the voices coming from the distant cavern dwellings could be heard, the small area where Dongbu Shuiying was staying, the area where the experts of the Mountain Wu Starfield lived, was extremely quiet. That was because 300 names had already been announced, yet not a single one belonged to the Mountain Wu Starfield. All of you come over to my place, Patrol Master Guan's voice rang out. Patrol Master Guan is calling for us. Let's go. Dongbu Shuiying controlled his state of mind as he spoke. At the same time he couldn't help but laugh inwardly. He was, after all, a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, yet he was actually nervous because of the announcement of the rankings. Dongbu's combat power is extremely high. He'll definitely be ranked at the top. Definitely. I think he should be in the top 100. The gods of the Xia people chatted amongst themselves as they walked out of the cave abode. As they walked, all of them raised their heads to look at the scroll that was slowly unfurling in the sky. They looked at the new names that had appeared. The cave dwelling of the Starfield Patrol Pass was naturally much more luxurious. At that moment, even a world god of the second heaven, Madame Sang General 2 and a few other world gods had arrived. There were also many divine-level experts rushing over from various places. Although the Mountain Wu Starfield had a total of 16 deities who had participated in the ranking battle, only 8 of them were still alive after the ranking battle. Of course, it was unknown whether those who died had cultivated cloning techniques. At the very least, there were only 8 people left who rushed over to participate in the battle. Brother Dongbu. Brother Dongbu. Your Highness, 7th Mei Yu. Everyone rushed over and greeted each other. Then they couldn't help but raise their heads and continue watching. The half-masked red-haired man with a murderous aura held the hilt of his sword in one hand and stared at the names that appeared on the scroll in the air. Nothing, nothing. Still nothing. Why isn't there anything yet? Patrol Master Guan frowned. 600 names have already been announced, General Tu said. General Tu added. They were very confident in their Mountain Wu Star field, as it had produced 2 sufficiently powerful existences. His Highness 7th Mei Yu and Dong Bo. Both of them could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. They didn't dare to guarantee that they would be able to enter the top 100 in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, but entering the top 1000 in the ranking battle shouldn't be a problem. However, as the rankings got higher and higher, they began to feel nervous. Because the higher they went, the harder it would be. 800. 900. Time seemed to pass very slowly. When 900 names were announced and the top 100 were announced, the names on the slowly unfurling scroll grew a size larger. The words were even bigger and more eye-catching. Your Highness shouldn't have any problems. Madame Sang was also somewhat nervous. She was very confident in Her Highness, and Monarch Mo Shui had also come to spectate this time. She guessed that the monarch already knew the final rankings, but since the monarch hadn't come to inform her, she didn't dare to ask. I must enter, I must. The red-haired male's eyes were filled with a baleful aura as he silently said in his heart. This was his chance to soar into the sky. Entering the top 1000 meant that even if he lost the arena battles, it would still be easy for him to join some powerful organizations. It was easy to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and obtain a rank, and one could even obtain a relatively high rank. Usually, one could easily obtain a rank through the Starfield selections. After all, a Starfield would only produce a dozen or so in 10 million years, so obtaining a rank was still relatively easy. 90. 80. The speed at which the names appeared slowed, but each name incited cheers from some distant cavern dwellings. 70. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. How can this be? There's definitely going to be one. The Stage 2 world deity Madame Sang frowned, her eyes filled with anxiety. The handsome white-robed teenager, 7th Mei Yu, calmly raised his head and watched. He frowned slightly, seemingly worried. He's entered the top 20. Jingqiu was also somewhat anxious. She carefully read through each name. Where's Snow Eagle? It's impossible for Snow Eagle not to enter the top 1000. Name. The Purple Thunder Emperor, Monarch Yunhai, the Dragon Mountain Emperor, and the others of the Xia people were all watching anxiously. Everyone was anxious, including Patrol Master Guan and General Tuesday. This included Patrol Master Guan and General Tuesday. The higher one's ranking was, the slimmer their chances were. Patrol Master Guan shook his head. This shouldn't be the case. With His Highness 7th Mei Yu and Dong Bo, they should be able to enter the rankings. I don't need all of them to enter, but at least one of them should enter. Currently, 985 names had appeared, but not a single one was from the Mountain Wu Star Field. Gradually, 12-11. 10th, 3 Spring Star Field Duo He. This name was clearly much larger than before, with a single line of words taking up an entire column on the scroll. Duo He. Ah, Teacher Duo He, you're truly formidable. Forefather Duo He. Faint cheers could be heard from afar. Patrol Master Guan's courtyard, on the other hand, was completely silent. Everyone was staring at the scroll with longing. The scroll slowly unfurled, revealing another row. 9th, Mountain Wu Star Field, 7th Mayu. Everyone in the courtyard of the Mountain Wu Star Field was stunned. Ha ha ha. Patrol Master Guan suddenly let out a hearty laugh. It's from my Mountain Wu Star Field, ha ha. Congratulations, Your Highness. Madame Sang hurriedly bowed. The white-robed 7th Mayu raised her head and looked at the scroll. Her brows relaxed as she softly said, the Calm Sea Prefecture truly has many experts. Your Highness is truly formidable. 9th, you're in the top 10. With Your Highness's strength, the following selections should be easy. You'll definitely be able to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Admirable, admirable. The surrounding crowd, including the world deities, all came to congratulate him. This was a sincere congratulation. If he had been ranked 80 or 90 in the ranking battles, it would be hard to say if he would still be in the top 100 after the arena battles and the survival battles. But for an expert ranked 9th, even if there were 2 more selections, it was still possible for him to remain in the top 100. This meant that he would be able to head to the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. The Mountain Wu Star Field was in an uproar. Amidst the uproar, the ancestral deities of the Xia people began to grow anxious. Why isn't there yet? Why isn't there yet? All of them watched anxiously. Due to the celebration of 7th Mayu, they had unknowingly reached the 5th place and soon the 4th place. 3rd place, Cave Horizon Star Field, Jianghu. The words were even bigger now and they were even glowing. At this moment, the countless life forms of the Calm Sea Prefecture city were watching, all of them memorizing this name. Just how amazing was he to be able to rank 3rd in the ranking battles. 2nd place, Palace Combe Star Field, Drunk Guest. The name was even bigger now and it was even more dazzling. The entire Calm Sea Prefecture city seemed to have turned silent. Everyone was waiting for the final name. I'll definitely be at the top. I'll definitely be there. The half-masked red-haired man gripped the hilt of his blade tightly as he muttered in his heart. That's the last one. Jingqiu and the ancestral deities of the Xia people also looked up anxiously. Dongbua Shuang also looked up anxiously. The final name, 1st place. The final name glowed with a golden light. The speed at which the name appeared was extremely slow, and it appeared word by word. Mountain Wu. Chapter 447. The final words on the scroll, which had attracted the attention of countless life forms in the Calm Sea Prefecture city, slowly began to appear. 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field. Patrol Master Guan, who had been congratulating 7th Mayu and holding the wine goblet in his hand, suddenly widened his eyes and unconsciously clenched his fists. Cheat, the wine goblet, which was made of extraordinary materials, began to twist in his grip. It's our Mountain Wu Star Field. General Tu and the other world deities were stunned. Yes, it's me. The half-masked red-haired man watched nervously. Everyone in the courtyard was watching nervously. The deities of the Xia people, Jingqiu, and even Dongbua Shuang were all looking up at the final words slowly appearing on the unfurled scroll. Dongbua. 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field, Dongbua. The most dazzling and eye-catching line of words on the scroll shone brightly. At this moment, the gazes of countless life forms in the Calm Sea Prefecture city landed on this name, all of them silently committing it to memory. There were only 19 prefectures in the entire Bloodshed God Palace territory. Being able to rank 1st in the ranking battle was already a testament to one's strength and potential. In the past, anyone who managed to rank 1st in the ranking battle would definitely become a world deity with an extraordinary future, as long as they did not die. Ordinary world deities could not compare to them. Everyone in the courtyard, including Patrol Master Guan, carefully looked at the words, afraid that they were mistaken. There was no mistake. At the very top of the unfurled blood-colored scroll, the dazzling golden words could be clearly seen. 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field, Dongbua. Haha, Dongbua. Brother Dongbua, you're truly formidable. Aha, Dongbua, I knew you could do it. 1st place in the ranking battle of the entire God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. The courtyard quickly became noisy. Even Patrol Master Guan, Madame Sang, General Tu, the Soaring Cloud Lake Master, and the other world deities came to congratulate him. Most of the deities who had survived the ranking battle did not hold out much hope either. In any case, they had attended the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast together, and they were friends from the same starfield. In the future, with this relationship, it would not be a problem for him to request for help from Dongbua Shuiying. Cheers and laughter soared into the sky. The divine-level experts from the other star domains in the cave abodes in the distance understood the moment they heard this. The person called Dongbua, who was ranked first in this ranking battle, should be in this direction. Brother Dongbua. The white-robed handsome youth, 7th Meiyu, looked at Dongbua Shuiying with a smile on his face. Brother Dongbua is truly formidable. You actually managed to clinch the championship in the ranking battle. There are nearly 2,000 starfields in the Kamsi prefecture, and there are many foreign deities as well. But in the end, Brother Dongbua is the strongest. Brother Meiyu is overpraising me. Getting first place in the ranking battle doesn't mean you'll get first place in the final survival battle. Even if you're first in the ranking battle and survival battle, it doesn't mean that you're the strongest in a life-and-death battle. Dongbua Shuiying said. Brother Dongbua is too humble. 7th Meiyu's voice was cold and gentle. You should know that being too humble will make others unhappy. Dongbua Shuiying was speechless. Seeing this, 7th Meiyu smiled. Jing Qiu, who was standing beside Dongbua Shuiying, saw this scene and transmitted, Snow Eagle, I'm right next to you. Dongbua Shuiying looked at his wife and transmitted back, Jing Qiu, what's wrong? I'm right next to you, yet you're still flirting with someone else? He's a guy. Who said so? I think he's a girl. You're really, what, you're not satisfied? Do you think I'm a hindrance here? Dongbua Shuiying transmitted back to his wife. 7th Meiyu glanced at Dongbua Shuiying and his wife, smiled and walked away. How could it be? How could it be? Impossible, I must have seen wrongly, I must have seen wrongly. The red-haired man raised his head and stared at the blood-red scroll that hung in the air like a curtain. He stared at the golden names, especially the first and most dazzling name. He couldn't believe it. He was unwilling to believe that it wasn't his name. Then he carefully looked at the entire scroll from top to bottom, trying to find a fish that had escaped the net. He wanted to find his own name. There were only 2 names on the scroll from Mountain Wu Star Field. One was first and the other was 9th. I lost? It's over? The red-haired man gripped the hilt of his blade, gritted his teeth and turned to leave. He didn't feel it was beneath him to congratulate Dongbua Shuiying. He didn't feel it was beneath him to congratulate 7th Meiyu either. The myriad flower feast is over for me, but I'll definitely get stronger in the future. I'll surpass 7th Meiyu and Dongbua. The red-haired man's eyes were cold as he walked back to his cave abode. The vast deity world, the dark abyss, the material world, there were people with all kinds of personalities. There were even some who felt that they were extremely talented in small places, only to realize the huge gap when they arrived in the deity world. There was always someone better than you in this world. If you kept comparing yourself with others and thought that you were the strongest, your mentality would only become more and more unbalanced. For example, Dongbua Shuiying was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. Because he didn't want to reveal his grade 1 deity heart during the myriad flower feast, he didn't dare to be arrogant and had a clear understanding of himself. His goal was to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle so that he could become a disciple of a powerful existence. If he could eat the myriad flower true fruit, that would be even better. As for the ranking, he just had to try his best. The ranking battle would take place 3 years later. The survival battle would take place 3 years after the end of the survival battle. 3 years after the survival battle, they would depart for the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. The Bloodshed God Palace would allow these deity experts sufficient time to properly absorb some of the rewards from the selections. After all, tempering themselves at this level was rare, and 3 years was neither too long nor too short. It was more or less enough for them to meditate and cultivate. Considering the long lifespans of deities, 3 years? It really wasn't much. Brother Dongbua, you can come to my territory in the Radiant Horn Starfield anytime in the future. I'll definitely treat you well. A tall figure covered in golden fur walked out of Dongbua Shuiying's cavern dwelling. His head was also covered in golden fur and had a single horn. Dongbua Shuiying personally sent him off. Brother Dongbua, take care. I'll definitely visit you when I'm free. After sending him off with his eyes, Dongbua Shuiying returned to his own cavern dwelling. Dongbua, More than 30 world deities have come to visit you, right? This one is even a stage 2 world deity, the Purple Thunder Emperor said with a smile. Becoming famous is also a headache. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Suddenly a voice came from outside. Dongbua. A soldier from the Legion rushed over and said politely, I'm here on the orders of the patrol master to deliver the information I just bought. Information. Dongbua Shuang walked over in surprise. It's information on the top 1,000 deities in the ranking battle. Information is already being sold outside, and the patrol master has bought it for you and His Highness 7th Mayu, the soldier said. Please help me thank the patrol master, Dongbua Shuang immediately said as he took a crystal jade from the soldier. The soldier immediately left. Dongbua Shuang began to read through the information. The moment he touched the crystal jade, a large amount of information surged into his mind. The crystal jade itself quickly dissipated. Rank 1000, Yen Feng of the Radiant Horn Starfield, cultivated for 1,653,000 years, easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior. The information even included the battle scene of Yen Feng defeating the fierce shaman warrior during the Starfield selections. Rank 999. Every single one of them was the same. This information mainly contained information on their cultivation age, as well as the battle scene during the Starfield selections. Because it was relatively simple, it wasn't expensive. After all, it was too difficult to gather more detailed information, such as the battle scene during the ranking battle. Only the Bloodshed God Palace's emissary, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, and a few others knew about it. Even the Temporal Temple was unable to penetrate the scroll treasure and investigate it. As for gathering information on the past, like Dongbua Shuang, who was a lord of a material world, information on a single person was extremely expensive, let alone 1,000 deity experts. It wasn't just Dongbua Shuang. Many experts, including world deities, and even some descendants of the luxurious clans of the Calm Sea Prefecture had received this information. They naturally paid close attention to the top rankers. Third place, Cave Horizon Starfield, Jianghu, cultivated for 5,916,000 years. Second place, Palace Combe Starfield, Drunk Guest, cultivated for 21,500 years. First place, Mountain Wu Starfield, Dongbua, cultivated for 2,300 years. Although the information contained the battle scene during the Starfield selections, it was the age that attracted the most attention. What, 2,300 years? Only 2,000 years? This Dongbua? Everyone in the Calm Sea Prefecture who saw this information was shocked by the cultivation age of this Dongbua. Chapter 448. In the Calm Sea Prefecture city, the most luxurious palace was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master's Palace, which was also where the Longsher clan was located. The Longsher clan's headquarters occupied an area of over 100 million kilometers, and it was filled with palaces. Large groups of soldiers rode on carriages and patrolled the skies. Several rare deity world life forms lived here as well, and the closer one got to the core of the headquarters, the more world deities one could see. Armored world deities standing solemnly, their gazes sweeping across every direction. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was the absolute ruler of the entire prefecture, and the legion under his command was much stronger than the Starfield Patrol Legion. The middle and upper echelons were all world deities. After all, as a prefecture master, with his own strength, he could easily establish an enormous empire. Since they were willing to serve His Majesty Bloodblade, he would naturally not mistreat them. Roar! In a majestic palace hall of the Longsher clan, there was a huge pit in the depths of this majestic palace hall. Within the pit, there were 3 beings from the celestial world chained up. Every single one of them was a beast with 4 hooves, blood-red scales, and a blood-red vertical eye on their heads. These were the famous Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts, extremely valuable world deity-level life forms. Senior Shiwei of Crimson Rock Mountain was a world deity-level plant, and a very powerful one at that. Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts were incomparably precious, and if nurtured well, they could generally rival Stage 2 world deities. There was a railing next to the pit, and a youth dressed in luxurious black robes was currently lying on top of it, throwing down precious fruits one after another. The 3 Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts below would immediately leap up to snatch the fruits, and some would even fight amongst themselves. Second Prince, were you looking for me? A tall, skinny old man hurried over. Emin? The black-robed youth lightly nodded. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was not a human, but a mutated dragon. He only had 2 children in his life, and they were the famous first prince and second prince of the Kamsi prefecture. The second prince was relatively weak, merely a stage 1 world deity. The Kamsi prefecture master was quite fond of his children, and those 3 blood-eye Shatterworld beasts were something he had obtained by chance as a gift for his children. The second prince was also extremely fond of them and he meticulously took care of them. The ranking battle of the Myriad Flower Feast is out. The same rules apply. The luxurious-looking black-robed young man looked down at the 3 blood-eye world-shattering beasts and said, "Invite the top 10 to my residence. I'm going to hold a banquet." "Yes," the tall and thin old man replied respectfully. "What's special about the top 10 that we need to pay attention to?" the black-robed youth casually asked. The tall and skinny old man respectfully said, "There are 3 that we need to pay attention to. The first is Dong Bo, who is ranked first. According to our intelligence, he has cultivated for more than 2,300 years, yet he is ranked first. Furthermore, he is a material realm lord," said the tall, skinny elder. "He is worthy of our good treatment." "Material world lord?" The black-robed youth lightly nodded. "Interesting. Moreover, he has only cultivated for 2,000 years. He's quite young. Who knows, he might be able to grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. Grasping a grade 1 deity heart in 10,000 years. Those who could grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years could easily become the personal disciple of a powerful existence. What about the other 2? The black-robed youth asked. The other is 7th Mayu, who is ranked 9th. The tall and thin old man said, "This is the information that the old housekeeper received from the prefecture master. He said that 7th Mayu is actually the 7th daughter of Monarch Imo-Shue." The 7th daughter of Monarch Imo-Shue? Who would have thought that Monarch Imo-Shue's daughter would be so formidable? The black-robed youth nodded. The last one is ranked 2nd, drunk guest. He's Yu Gong, a personal disciple, the tall and thin old man said. Yu Gong? The black-robed youth turned his head, somewhat astonished. Yu Gong, that's a powerful existence. That drunk guest has cultivated for more than 20,000 years, yet he has yet to become a world deity. He's Yu Gong's personal disciple? Yes. The old expert nodded. This information was only obtained from the Bloodshed God Palace after he became the 2nd ranker. It seems that Yu Gong likes him a lot and accepted him as his personal disciple. Drunk guest. The black-robed youth softly said, "This is clearly just a title. Yu Gong's personal disciple, interesting." The disciples of powerful existences were also divided into ranks. As for honorary disciples and honorary disciples, they were simply too ordinary, not even worth mentioning. In fact, they would never even have the chance to receive pointers from powerful existences, not even once. Inner disciples? That was much better. At the very least they could receive pointers. Personal disciples. This was what powerful existences truly valued, to the point where they would nurture and care for them like their own children. Powerful existences were extremely cautious when accepting personal disciples. For example, in the battles of the deity world, the deaths of honorary disciples and inner disciples were simply too common. However, no one would dare to casually kill a personal disciple. Killing them would be equivalent to offending a powerful existence. Personal disciples of powerful existences were extremely rare, and the number of personal disciples they accepted could be counted on one's fingers. Interesting. I'm afraid that my Kamsi prefecture will only get more and more lively in the future. The black-robed youth smiled. I'm afraid that 7th May you will have to return to the Imo-Shue Empire in the future, but once Dong Bo and drunk guest cultivations reach a certain level, the Bloodshed God Palace will arrange for them to return to their hometowns. They will most likely hold high positions within our Kamsi prefecture, the tall, thin old man said. They all have great potential. It's best if they all stand on our side. Hurry up and make arrangements to invite them over. The black-robed youth instructed. Yes, the tall and thin old man replied respectfully. The Kamsi prefecture is getting more and more interesting. Although the Kamsi prefecture master was extremely powerful and could be said to be able to cover the sky with a single hand, and everyone respected him, the Kamsi prefecture master was not someone who could be underestimated. But it was impossible for him to do as he pleased. After all, this was the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace, the territory of His Majesty. Nobody could truly do as they pleased. Even an ordinary army soldier with a rank couldn't be killed so easily. No matter how strong the Kamsi prefecture master was, it was impossible for him to kill so casually. Naturally, there were other experts who would split their authority. The prefecture master might not care too much about such power struggles, but the second prince, who was merely a stage 1 world deity, was extremely concerned about it. The more power he had, the more carefree he could be. Inside Dongbo Shui Ying's cave abode. Ever since the news that he had only cultivated for 2,300 years had spread, the number of world deities visiting Dongbo Shui Ying had skyrocketed. Previously he was ranked first, but under normal circumstances he would have cultivated for around 1,000,000 years. In the future, it would be easy for him to become a stage 1 world deity, and there was even hope for him to become a stage 2 world deity. However, this was not enough for so many world deities to pay him a visit. But now, they all realized that Dongbo Shui Ying was so young, and his future prospects would most likely be even higher than what they had expected. In the future, he would most likely have a high position within the Kamsi prefecture. Many of them would have to act according to Dongbo Shui Ying's wishes, so they would naturally send gifts to him while he was still weak. After all, once Dongbo Shui Ying became powerful, he would no longer care about these gifts. Tsk. Not only have world deities come to pay a visit, even the second prince of the Kamsi prefecture has sent an invitation, the Purple Thunder Emperor praised. Dongbo Shui Ying also looked at the black invitation in his hand. There were divine imprints on it that formed the words Dragon Clan. I heard that the second prince of the Kamsi prefecture will always invite the top 10 rankers of the ranking battles to attend the Myriad Flower Feast. Shui Ying laughed. Previously, the world deity who came to deliver the invitation also said that we can bring people with us, at most 2 people. Which one of you is willing to go? The deities of the Xia people in the courtyard all shook their heads. Not going. Only 2 people? Who's going? Not going. You can bring Mage Jingqiu. We won't be participating. The deities of the Xia people all shook their heads. Dongbo Shui Ying laughed, then looked at his wife. Jingqiu, are you going? Of course. Jingqiu smiled. I have to experience it. On the second day, a luxurious black carriage was being pulled by 9 multi-legged creatures. It landed at the entrance of Shui Ying's cavern dwelling. There were 10 black-armored legion soldiers and a green-robed driver on the carriage. The green-robed driver got off the carriage and respectfully shouted out in front of the cavern dwelling, Sir Dongbo, we've received orders to bring Sir Dongbo to the banquet. The door opened and Dongbo Shui Ying and Jingqiu walked out side by side. Dongbo Shui Ying looked at the carriage and could not help but sigh inwardly. Every single one of the multi-legged beasts pulling the carriage was far more expensive than the taper beasts, and the carriage was far more luxurious than the carriage of the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master. And this was just for escorting someone. This second prince of the Kamsi prefecture was truly extraordinary. Everyone, it's been hard on you. Let's go. Dongbo Shui Ying brought Jingqiu up the carriage and sat down. The carriage was guarded by 10 soldiers. The green-robed driver drove the carriage, and the 9 multi-legged beasts quickly pulled the carriage across the sky. Chapter 449. The many-legged beasts pulled the carriage through the sky at an incredible speed. Dongbo Shui Ying and Jingqiu were both seated within the carriage, looking at the surrounding scenery. The Kamsi prefecture city was simply too big, and there were even some majestic buildings in the distance as well as some undulating mountains. Even I can't see the Kamsi prefecture city clearly. I can only see its end from afar, as if it's a gigantic city wall at the end of the world, Jingqiu sighed in admiration. Amen. Dongbo Shui Ying also looked at the gigantic city wall that was hidden by the clouds. The Kamsi prefecture city is indeed extraordinary. After all, it was built by the prefecture master and reinforced by successive prefecture masters. Every single array on the city wall is unfathomably profound. Despite his astonishment, Dongbo Shui Ying felt a surge of heroism in his heart. As long as he did not slack off, it would not be difficult for him to become a stage 4 world deity in the future. In fact, he might even have a chance of becoming a powerful existence. We're almost there, the green-robed driver suddenly said. The 9 many-legged beasts had already begun to descend towards the gigantic palace complex. This was the Kamsi prefecture master's palace, as well as the residence of the Longsher clan. After descending, the carriage came to a stop in front of a side hall. Sir Dongbo, a violet-robed female attendant, was waiting at the entrance of the hall, specifically to welcome them. Dongbo Shui Ying and Jingqiu disembarked from the carriage. Good fellow. Dongbo Shui Ying swept his gaze across the hall, noticing a row of golden-armored soldiers standing at the entrance. However, the aura emanating from them was that of a world deity. 10 world deities are standing guard outside the hall? Dongbua Shuiying was inwardly shocked at the foundation of the number 1 clan of the Kamsi prefecture. He and his wife were led by the violet-robed female attendant into the hall. A few guests had already arrived within the hall. One of them was the white-robed handsome teenager, 7th Meiyu. 7th Meiyu was seated cross-legged beside a long table, and behind him were 2 beautiful women. Sir Dongbua, this way please. The violet-robed female attendant led Dongbua Shuiying to his seat, which was right beside 7th Meiyu. Dongbua Shuiying sat cross-legged with Jingqiu by his side. Brother Dongbo, did you only bring your wife? 7th Meiyu turned to look at him. I've come to take a look. Madame Sang didn't come? Dongbua Shuiying asked in astonishment. Madame Sang was a stage 2 world deity. Was she not supposed to protect 7th Meiyu? There's no need for her to come to this kind of banquet. What a joke. Monarch Mo Shui was currently residing in the Longshire clan, and the manor lord was personally accompanying him. Given her father's strength, he could easily suppress the entire Kamsi prefecture with a single thought. As such, there was no need for Madame Sang to follow him too closely. She had no reason to follow him too closely. While they were talking, a servant brought in some delicacies and wine, and respectfully placed the plates on Dongbua Shuiying's table. This is a token of His Second Highness's sincerity. Please enjoy, Master Dongbua. The servant then left. The second prince's kind intentions? Dongbua Shuiying swept his gaze across the table. Atop this seemingly stone plate was a flask of wine and 6 plates, some of which were filled with spirit fruits, while others were filled with food. Dongbua Shuiying lifted the lid of the flask of wine and took a sniff. He then smiled at his wife beside him. Jingqiu, His Second Highness's spending is not small. This flask of wine and these spirit fruits should cost at least 1,000 deity crystals. Snow Eagle, take a closer look at the plate, Jingqiu said. Dongbua Shuiying was taken aback. Only then did he take a closer look. It seemed like a stone plate. At first glance, it seemed ordinary and unremarkable, but upon closer inspection, one would be able to sense an incomparably pure energy contained within it. Faith stone? Dongbua Shuiying was astonished. The power of faith was extremely precious. What was the purpose of world deities spreading their fame and fighting for faith? It was precisely the power of faith. Faith stone was the material form of the condensed power of faith. However, they would usually be cut into standard pieces of faith stones, and each piece was only the size of a finger. The plate in front of him was worth thousands of faith stones. It was probably made from the most primitive giant stone formed from faith power, and it was specially cut into plates. Her Highness 7th Meiyu laughed from the side. Rich clans love to do such things. Let's not even talk about cutting faith stones into plates. They would even carve huge faith stones into statues after countless years of accumulation. This plate of faith stones, if calculated in terms of deity crystals, it would be worth 100,000 deity crystals. Not just you and me, but every single one of us in the top 10 will probably get a plate. This is the real gift from His Highness. 100,000 deity crystals? That's 1,000,000 deity crystals for the top 10. Dongbua Shuiying shook his head and sighed. How extravagant. 1,000,000 deity crystals was equivalent to all the treasures of a stage 1 world deity. And yet, it was merely a gift from His Highness. In truth, this was quite normal. Those ranked in the top 10 were all freakish geniuses, and most likely had some sort of fortuitous encounter. 10 or 20,000 deity crystals would not be worth much to them. Only 100,000 deity crystals would be enough to show their sincerity. Moreover, the faith stones would be cut into plates, and the top 10 would always remember it. Guests arrived one after another. There were those who ranked in the top 10 of the Kamsi prefecture ranking battle, as well as some of the rich clan's disciples. The second prince was the last to appear. Everyone, the myriad flower feast is held only once every 10 million years, and it is the grandest event in the entire deity world. Today I've invited the top 10 of the ranking battle, and I believe that in 9 years, they will all head to the Bloodshed God Palace to fight in front of His Majesty and all the other powerful existences. Come, for this grand occasion, and for the 10 of you, let us drink together. The black-robed youth sat on the host's seat and raised a wine cup. Immediately, everyone present raised their wine cups and drained them in one gulp. Let me introduce everyone first. The black-robed youth smiled. To my left is Brother Jinfeng. His great-grandfather is the left palace master. He did not dare to mention the names of the powerful existences. It was a bearded man in a blue robe who looked rather dispirited. He was drinking and casually glancing around before continuing to drink. This is Brother Luan Qi, the only son of the West Yong Legion's general. And this is, the second prince introduced them one by one. There were a total of 12 disciples from the rich clans, 9 of whom were world deities and 3 were deities. Most deities would not be able to maintain their true deity hearts for long periods of time, and their true deity hearts would eventually crumble and die. General Luan of the West Yong Legion, for example, had 9 children, but only one of them became a world deity, while the other 8 were ordinary deities. Over the years, their true deity hearts crumbled and died. Only Luan Qi was left. Those who had been invited today were all disciples of the most powerful rich clans in the Kam-Si prefecture, the cream of the crop. After the introductions, everyone gradually became familiar with each other. Beautiful women were singing and dancing in the hall. These rich clans' disciples were also chatting with Dongbo Shuiying and the other 9. Not bad. These rich clans' disciples are much more polite than that Soaring Cloud Lake's young master. Dongbo Shuiying discovered that most of them were world deities, and 2 of them were stage 2 world deities. All of them were quite polite to him. Only the 3 deity-level rich clans' disciples were slightly lacking in terms of etiquette. Brother Luan Qi, come. Why don't the 2 of us make a bet? A tall silver-robed youth shouted. If Brother Ying wants to bet, I'll naturally accompany you. Luan Qi's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. He then laughed. I wonder if it's a beautiful woman or a bloody battle? A beautiful woman. A bloody battle would dirty this place and make the second prince unhappy. That would be my sin. The silver-robed youth said, This world deity weapon of mine was given to me by my father to play with. I find it boring, so I'll bet. As he spoke, the silver-robed youth flipped his hand and took out a blood-colored double-edged axe. Luan Qi frowned, but then he laughed. All right, I'll accompany you. I'll take 1,000,000 deity crystals and this world deity weapon. With a casual flip of his hand, a divine sword with a green scabbard appeared. Dongbo Shuiying could sense it. This General Ying, who was merely a deity, seemed to have some sort of conflict with Luan Qi. Otherwise, why would he make such a big bet? Chapter 450. Dongbo Shuiying also knew that in some of the rich and powerful clans in the deity realm, other than the most common blood battle arena, there were also other gambling matches. Like exotic beasts? Among them, the Battle of Beauties was the most pleasing to the eye and the most common. Normally, 2 beautiful women would fight without any armor or boots. They would fight with weapons in their hands. As long as one side was injured, it was considered a rather merciful battle. As for the blood battle and the mutated beasts battle, it would only end when one side died. Haha, since Brother Ying and Brother Luan Qi are so happy, I'll be the banker. Everyone can place their bets. The odds are 1 to 2. You can bet however you like, the second prince, who was sitting high above, said as he watched all this with a faint smile on his face. I'm betting on old Brother Ying's side. Old Brother Ying lost quite badly last time, so the beauties he chose this time will definitely be extraordinary. I'm still betting on Brother Luan Qi. Seeing that all the scions of the rich and powerful clans had placed their bets, Dongbo Shuiying and the other 9 had also placed their bets out of respect. Of course, the 10 of them did not place a large amount of bets. They had a tacit understanding with each other and each of them took out 10,000 deity crystals to place their bets. Soon, 2 women walked in from outside the hall. A white-robed woman and a violet-robed woman walked over barefoot, without any armor or protective gear. The 2 of them faced each other from afar. One of them had a sharp sword in her hand, while the other had a curved blade in both hands. Both of them were staring at each other. You sent Baiji again? The silver-robed youth, General Ying, sneered. Big Brother Luan Qi, I've long since been aware of Baiji's power. Why did you still send her? If you have the ability, then say that after you win, Luan Qi said indifferently. The silver-robed youth glanced at the violet-robed woman. The purple-clothed woman understood that she had to win this match. In the Battle of Beauties, as long as one side was wounded, the battle would end. However, even if she lost, there was no way General Ying would let her off. South. The 2 women confronted each other from afar and moved in an instant. The white-robed woman's white robes fluttered in the wind, creating a blurry illusion. Her sword streaked across the sky like a stream of light. The other purple-clothed woman disappeared in an instant and appeared next to the white-clothed woman. She began fighting with the white-clothed woman in midair. Weapons collided. The two women intersected and dodged again and again. The battle between beauties was indeed a feast for the eyes. Amazing. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself as he watched. These two girls are strong enough to pass the Starfield selections. However, I reckon that they're too old to qualify for the Bloodshed Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. The Myriad Flower Feast had a time limit of 11 million years. In reality, most deities cultivated very slowly. For example, the ancestors of the Xia people, the Purple Thunder Emperor, the Cloud Sea Emperor, and the Crimson Flame Emperor, had all cultivated for more than 10 million years. In the deity realm, those who truly reached the peak of the deity realm would usually cultivate for more than 50 million years. However, the older one got, the lower the chances of becoming a world deity. The Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast only selected those with boundless prospects. If there was no age limit and the strongest deity was chosen, they might have lived for more than 100 million years. Their true deity heart might collapse right after the Myriad Flower Feast ended. That would be a joke. Chi. A sword light flashed. Two figures landed on the ground. The clothes of the purple-robed girl had been torn, and there was a large wound on her arm. Her blood was dripping onto the hall, but the wound was quickly healing. The purple-robed girl's face was somewhat pale. She had lost. She had lost. Trash. The silver-robed youth sitting there had a sinister look on his face as he growled. The purple-robed girl couldn't help but tremble when she heard this. "Come here," the silver-robed youth said coldly. The purple-robed girl nervously walked over. "Old brother Ying, you're not going to kill the defeated beauties again, are you?" Wan Qi chuckled. "It's fine if I went over, but today I've invited the top 10 rankers of the Myriad Flower Feast. My business is none of your business." The silver-robed youth, General Ying, sneered. Wan Qi frowned slightly, but he soon laughed mockingly without saying anything else. Old brother Wan Qi won this battle. There were quite a few people who placed their bets on old brother Wan Qi. This time I've made a loss again. The second prince gave the order, and servants immediately began to deliver the deity crystals one by one. Dongbo Shuang had also placed his bet on Wan Qi because he felt that Wan Qi was a world deity, and as a world deity, he would have a higher chance of success. His bet was correct, and he made a small profit of 10,000 deity crystals. General Ying grabbed the purple-robed girl and had her sit beside him, pouring wine and serving him. The banquet was still going on. There were songs and dances as well as performances from some rare creatures. The banquet could be considered quite lively. General Ying, on the other hand, didn't utter a single word. Clearly he was in a bad mood after losing the bet. His gaze landed on Dongbo Shuang as well as on Jing Qiu, who was happily chatting with Dongbo Shuang. "Why is it that no matter how much I cultivate, it's useless? Why is he so powerful after cultivating for only 2,000 years? And why is it so easy for him to become a world deity? Even his woman is so beautiful." General Ying's eyes were cold. Brother Dongbo. General Ying suddenly spoke. Opposite him, Dongbo Shuang was startled, but he soon raised his head and smiled. "General Ying. I can see that brother Dongbo is quite fond of her. I'll give this beauty to you." General Ying waved his hand, causing the purple-robed girl to be slightly taken aback. General Ying glanced at her and said, "From now on, your life belongs to brother Dongbo." Hearing this, the purple-robed girl's heart was filled with joy. She had always been afraid of being executed by General Ying. Dongbo Shuang was somewhat puzzled. "General Ying, what are you doing? Could it be that you look down on me?" The silver-robed youth, General Ying, frowned. "I wouldn't dare," Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said. "Haha, brother Dongbo, since brother Ying has gifted her to you, just accept it. It's just a beauty. Just accept it." The other scions of the rich clans all spoke up. "Many thanks, General Ying." In truth, Dongbo Shuang had been watching from the side. He could guess that the purple-robed girl would suffer a miserable fate if she lost. Since that was the case, he might as well accept it. At the same time, he transmitted to Jing Qiu, "Jing Qiu, she will listen to your orders from now on." Jing Qiu couldn't help but smile. Seeing Jing Qiu smile, General Ying couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Truly beautiful. Jing Qiu's beauty surpassed even her temperament. Brother Dongbo, since I've gifted you a beauty, you should give me one as well, right?" The silver-robed youth, General Ying, said, "How about you give the blue-robed girl beside you to me?" Dongbo Shuang was taken aback, and then his face turned ashen. Beside him, Jing Qiu was also taken aback, but soon after she found it hard to conceal her anger. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly froze. The scions of the rich clans could all tell that something was wrong. General Ying, are you drunk? Dongbo Shuiying said coldly. What? Not even a single girl? Are you looking down on me? The silver-robed youth's eyes flashed with coldness. She's my wife. Dongbo Shuiying crushed the wine goblet in his hand. He coldly glared at the silver-robed youth. General Ying, aren't you going too far? So what if she's your wife? I told you to give her to me, didn't you hear me? General Ying's eyes narrowed. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes flickered with killing intent. At this moment Luan Qi's voice sounded in his ears. Brother Dongbo, this Ying heir's father is a stage 3 world deity, but he's also one of His Majesty's personal guards. His aunt is the famous venomous Ying world deity of our Kamsi prefecture. He's his father's only child and he's only a deity. Although he has only cultivated for 70 million years, his temperament is quite ordinary. No matter how many treasures he consumes, he will soon lose control of his heart. As a result, his actions have become increasingly demonic. You can't fight him head-on. It's not worth it. Brother Dongbo, another voice sounded. It belonged to the second prince. General Ying's background is quite impressive, and he's not far from dying from the collapse of his true deity heart. That's why he's becoming even more demonic. Even I can't do anything to him. You mustn't fight him head-on. The two of them transmitted their voices. Brother Dongbo obtained first place in the ranking battle, and he's very affectionate with his wife. You shouldn't act recklessly, the second prince said from his high seat. Second prince, this is a matter between me and Dongbo. You don't need to get involved. The silver-robed youth, General Ying, stared at Dongbo Shuiying with a savage expression. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said? Dongbo Shuiying loosened his right hand, causing the powder from the crushed wine goblet to fall onto the table. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the silver-robed youth and grinned. Wah! A youth in starry blue robes appeared next to the silver-robed youth. It was none other than Dongbo Shuiying. Bah, 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 bah. A palm slapped the silver-robed youth across the face. Like a phantom, he was slapped a dozen times in succession, and General Ying was sent flying backwards. A gray-robed elder behind him hurriedly stepped in to save him. The gray-robed elder was furious. He was a stage 1 world deity, but he had never imagined that someone would dare to attack his young master in this hall. The appearance of this mirage body was too sudden. You dare hit me? General Ying, who had been slapped so hard that he spat out blood and his teeth flew out, turned to glare at Dongbo Shuiying. Your mouth is too filthy, Dongbo Shuiying said coldly. Chapter 451. The atmosphere in the hall froze in an instant. The second prince, young master Luan Qi, and the others looked on in astonishment. Even the top 10 rankers of the ranking battle, drunk guest Jiushi 7th Meiyu and the others were shocked. After all, none of them had expected Dongbo Shuiying to have such a fiery temper that he would directly attack someone. Previously, this Dongbo was very humble and courteous to everyone, but who would have thought that he would be so unyielding? The second prince looked down at Dongbo Shuiying with a pensive expression. I've already told him about second brother Ying's background, but he still attacked without hesitation. It seems that this Dongbo, although he has a good temper, he can't be easily humiliated. He immediately gained a clearer understanding of Dongbo Shuiying's character. In the future, when Dongbo Shuiying rose to a high position within the Kamsi prefecture, the second prince would have a much better understanding of Dongbo Shuiying, making it easier for him to interact with him. You. The silver-robed General Ying was about to go mad from anger. Over the years, who had dared to hit him? You had such a dirty mouth before, so I slapped your mouth. Let's just let this matter pass and I won't bother about it anymore. Dongbo Shuiying was still sitting there calmly. General Ying, I hope you understand that not everyone is someone you can provoke. General Ying was so angry that he was trembling. He had already lost control of his heart and was on the verge of going crazy. Now that he was being infuriated by Dongbo Shuiying, he was on the verge of going crazy. This Dongbo had slapped him so many times, yet he was still spouting a bunch of principles. Why are you two still standing there like idiots? The silver-robed General Ying turned to look at the gray-robed elder and the male servant beside him and roared, What are you waiting for? Capture him for me. Capture this husband and wife pair. I want him to know the consequences of offending me. The gray-robed elder and the male servant were somewhat hesitant. The gray-robed elder was a stage 1 world deity, while the male servant was only a peak deity. But he got first place in the ranking battle? It's to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. The gray-robed elder hesitated. His Majesty had long since issued a strict order that forbade anyone from disrupting the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. Trash, I asked you to capture him, not kill him. The silver-robed young man, General Ying, roared with a savage expression. I want to capture this husband and wife, but I can't kill him. But his wife doesn't have a rank, and she didn't participate in the God Palace myriad flower feast either. Hurry up and go. If you don't, you too will know the consequences. The gray-robed elder felt that his master was about to go crazy. He didn't dare to disobey. He then turned to look at Dongbo Shuiying, who was still seated at the table. Dongbo Shuiying had picked up another wine bottle and was calmly pouring himself a cup of wine. Dongbo Shuiying even glanced at the gray-robed old man with respect. I have no choice. If I don't make a move on you, the general will not let me go. So, I have no choice but to make a move. Boom, just as his world deity domain spread out, the gray-robed elder took a step forward and appeared beside Dongbo Shuiying. The second prince, who was seated high above, furrowed his brows. The tall, skinny old man beside him looked down coldly. Suddenly the entire hall was suppressed by an even more powerful domain. Even space-time seemed to be shattered, and some particles could be faintly seen flowing around. Everyone present could sense the terrifying power contained within those slowly flowing particles. The gray-robed elder felt himself being imprisoned. Although he was able to struggle free, he knew that there was a huge gap between their strength. He could not help but look up. Lord Song. The gray-robed elder looked at the tall, skinny old man beside the second prince. This old man was the second prince's butler, Song Chun. He came from the Tsang clan, which was even more powerful than the Long clan. The ancestor of the Tsang clan was a powerful existence, and this Tsang Chun was a descendant of the Tsang clan. He had once received a great favor from the Kam-Si prefecture master, and before he broke through to become a stage 3 world deity, he had been willing to serve the Long clan forever. As such, the Kam-Si prefecture master allowed him to follow his second son. Enough. The second prince looked down and frowned. Old brother Ying, Dong Bo took first place in the ranking battle of the Myriad Flower Feast, and information regarding him has long since been reported to the Bloodshed God Palace. Do you still wish to capture him alive? Your Highness, you wish to stop me? The silver-robed General Ying seemed to have gone mad as he looked up at the second prince. The second prince felt disdain in his heart. What a madman. He had seen many people who had entered the final stages of their true deity hearts crumbling, so he could not be bothered to bicker with such a madman. He did not wish to invite him to a banquet like this. But if he did not invite him, this General Ying would most likely come by himself. After all, it was impossible to imagine what a madman who had lived to the point of insanity could do. Yes, of course I have to stop you, the second prince said as he looked down. The silver-robed General Ying was taken aback. Normally, the second prince would rarely clash head-on with him, but now that he did, General Ying was somewhat taken aback. The second prince truly did not fear his authority. I'm also helping you by stopping you, the second prince said. Do you know that Dong Bo is from the material world? The material world? General Ying frowned. Does his being from the material world have anything to do with this? How dare he hit me? How could I possibly forgive him for this humiliation? The second prince sighed inwardly. I've already told this Dong Bo to bear with it. I had originally planned to stop General Ying when he became even more arrogant. If Dong Bo had not made a move, I would have been able to easily suppress him. But now, this second Ying seems to have gone mad. He wanted Dongbo Shuiying to remember his kindness. When he had nowhere to retreat, the second prince made his move. Who would have thought that Dong Bo would act so quickly and suddenly? He's from the material world and has only cultivated for 2,000 years or so. Don't tell me you still can't figure it out? The second prince looked down and sighed. Old brother Ying Dong Bo is a realm lord. Only one of his clones is attending the banquet. His main body is still in the material world. If I'm not mistaken, his wife's main body is in the material world as well. A lord of the material world? He and his wife's main body are in the material world? General Ying was stunned. So what? Don't tell me you still don't understand? The two of them aren't afraid of death. The second prince shook his head. If you push it too far, the two of them will probably self-detonate in an instant. All they've lost is a clone which they can easily cultivate back. But if they want to cultivate another clone embryo and cultivate it back, they won't be able to make it to the arena. If they can't participate in the Myriad Flower Feast, The Grand Champion of the ranking battles will be unable to participate. This matter will be reported to the higher-ups. His Majesty has already given strict orders. You're the one who forced this. What do you think will happen to you? The second prince looked at him. The silver-robed General Ying was stunned. It's not just you. Your aunt and father will also be punished for your involvement. The second prince shook his head. The silver-robed General Ying was stunned. He looked at Dongbua Shuiying, who was standing opposite him. Dongbua Shuiying was sipping his wine, not even bothering to look at him. That damn bastard. The silver-robed General Ying gritted his teeth. So that's what he's thinking. Dongbua Shuiying, on the other hand, was secretly impressed. What a second prince. Not only did he suppress General Ying head-on, he even got General Ying to thank him for his kindness. But when it came to General Ying, Dongbua Shuiying did not fear him in the slightest. Self-detonation? That was the most helpless choice. After all, he had lost a clone. In truth, Dongbua Shuiying had long since seen through the most fundamental point. Aside from his own people, the second prince was the most unwilling to see anything happen to him. Chapter 452. Today was the second time. The second prince had invited the top 10 rankers of every myriad flower feast, and he was famous and had a wide network. How could he allow Dongbua Shuiying to meet with any mishap at the banquet where he had invited the top 10 rankers? Whether it was his wife being snatched away or Dongbua Shuiying and his wife being forced to self-detonate, the second prince had actually allowed all of this to happen. What would the other experts who had participated in the ranking battles think of him if news of this spread? What would the top 10 rankers of the ranking battles think of him? Over the years, the second prince had been trying to win the hearts of the people. Would he allow a madman to ruin his plans? Just now, the second prince had persuaded him to believe that he was truly in a hopeless situation. He was probably waiting for a better opportunity to act and earn his gratitude. This was what Dongbua Shuiying was most confident about. Furthermore, both he and his wife were only avatars in the deity world. How could such a useless silk pants humiliate them? If he gave him some face, he was General Ying. If he did not give him face, he was just a fool. Fallout? So what if he did? Would the venomous Ying world deity dare to kill him? Very good. Are you smart? The silver-robed General Ying stared at Dongbua Shuiying. A lord of a material world? Boundless future? But what does your future have to do with me? My true deity heart is about to collapse, so why would I be afraid of you? You're not afraid of me. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. But do you think I'm afraid of you? Very good, very good. The silver-robed General Ying looked at the flow of particles around him. The entire hall was suppressed and his subordinates could not move at all. This made him even crazier. He looked up at the second prince. Your Highness, are you really going to stop me? Old brother Ying, is there a need to make such a big fuss? If you do, the matter of the myriad flower feast will be reported to His Majesty. The second prince shook his head. I'm just helping you. Not only did he say that he was helping you, but he also made General Ying speechless. In truth, the second prince looked down on a madman. What he cared about was this banquet. He could not allow a madman to ruin it. Very good. General Ying gnashed his teeth and turned to look at Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua, just you wait. Once we leave this hall, you'll see how I deal with you. Even as he spoke, General Ying's eyes began to redden. He had been suppressing a belly full of anger. He had been slapped so many times in the face. In the past, he had always been arrogant and trampled on others. When had he ever been slapped in the face? Even the second prince wouldn't dare to humiliate him like this. He had already gone mad, and now that he was being humiliated like this, he became even crazier. Auntie, I'm going crazy. I'm going to be humiliated to death. General Ying immediately transmitted to his auntie. As for his father was still at the Bloodshed God Palace, serving as a guard for His Majesty the Blood Blade. The venomous Ying world deity was currently residing within the Long clan as a guest. She was currently resting in one of the residences within the Long clan, sitting on a couch. Her huge black tail was currently coiled within the room. There was no need for her to restrain herself when she was alone. She was not human. Not only her but also her brother. Furthermore, General Ying was not human. He was a being of the deity world, and his descendants were few and far between. His comprehension ability was average and low, and in their entire clan, the siblings were the only ones who had truly made a name for themselves. Her brother had only had 2 children, but they could only be raised to become deities. The realms of a deity were too low. In the face of endless time, even if they were not killed, they would eventually die from not being able to protect their hearts. The venomous Ying world deity's expression suddenly changed, and a terrifying savagery appeared in her eyes. This Dongbua is truly audacious. Soft. She instantly disappeared from the residence. Within the great hall. After the second prince suppressed the situation, the banquet continued. Snow Eagle, that General Ying is too crazy. Once the banquet is over, will we be attacked on the way back? Jing Qiu transmitted to him. Dongbua Shuang replied, Jing Qiu, don't worry. If that General Ying hadn't spoken those ruthless words, we might have been in trouble. Since he has spoken those words, we will be absolutely safe on the way back. Then we will be absolutely safe on our way back. No matter what, the second prince will protect us. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. The silver-robed General Ying was drinking wine with his head lowered. Occasionally he would raise his head, but his eyes were red with madness. Dongbua Shuang sighed inwardly. Although he did not like the general, he still felt that he was pitiful. No matter how arrogant a silk pants he was, even if he was the young master of the soaring cloud lake. At a banquet of this level, he would not act recklessly even if he knew of Dongbua Shuang's identity. General Ying might have been a silk pants, but since he had become a deity he was definitely rational. What a pity! This was how a madman whose true deity heart was about to collapse would behave. He would lose his rationality and act without any regard for the consequences. How could one talk about rationality and consequences to a madman who was about to die? Who is it? A roar suddenly came from outside the hall. A terrifying aura suddenly rushed in. Everyone within the hall felt a bone-deep fear as an ancient and incomparably evil aura rushed into the hall. A yellow-robed woman had already stepped into the hall. Her eyes were cold as she swept her gaze across the hall. The second prince was startled. He hurriedly stood up. Senior Venomous Ying. The yellow-robed woman walked in. Her body was surrounded by a sinister black aura, and her eyes had vertical slits. She was cold and gloomy as if she was an emotionless creature. Everyone present felt a sense of fear. The Venomous Ying world deity. The famous Venomous Ying world deity. Her most famous appearance was when she had poisoned a stage 4 world deity, Puzong Monarch. She had caused him to suffer so much that he could no longer chase after her. Her achievements in the field of hexing poisons were extremely high, and she was definitely the #1 expert in the entire Kamsi prefecture. After all, how formidable was she to be able to cause a stage 4 world deity to suffer? You are Dongbua? The Venomous Ying world deity's gaze landed on Dongbua Shuang. Senior Venomous Ying, the second prince hurriedly said. Shut up, the Venomous Ying world deity coldly said. The second prince immediately felt somewhat awkward. Dongbua Shuang glanced at him and understood that he could no longer rely on the second prince. However, this was normal. The second prince's power came from his father's deterrence and many good friends. But the Venomous Ying world deity relied on herself. Her powerful strength allowed her to disregard everything else. I am Dongbua. Dongbua Shuang stood up. Greetings, Venomous Ying world deity. It's too late for you to beg for mercy. The yellow-robed woman's vertical pupils swept across Dongbua Shuang's wife, Jing Qiu. Your wife is truly beautiful. It's no wonder my nephew likes her. I called you Venomous Ying world deity, because I respect your strength, not because I'm begging for mercy, Dongbua Shuang calmly said. I'm just a lord of a material world. There's no need for me to beg you for mercy. The atmosphere froze. Everyone felt stifled. He actually slapped me more than 10 times. Neither you nor father have ever hit me before. The silver-robed General Ying shouted. I'll definitely make him regret it. I'll let him know the price of offending me. Rest assured. Auntie will help you vent your anger, the yellow-robed Venomous Ying world deity said. You're still so daring in front of me. The yellow-robed woman sneered. She extended her right hand, causing a terrifying pressure to spread out and envelop both Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu. I won't act against you, but I'll take your wife away. The yellow-robed woman sneered. Let's see what you can do. So what if you've become the disciple of a powerful existence? My teacher is also a powerful existence. Those who could reach stage 3 or 4 deities could easily become the disciple of a powerful existence even if they were not originally the disciple of a powerful existence. Senior Venomous Ying. 7th May, you could not help but speak up. Your Highness, may you, there's no need for you to concern yourself with my matters, the Venomous Ying world deity coldly replied. She then glared at Dongbua Shuang. Aren't you arrogant? Now that I've taken your wife away, she can't even commit suicide in front of me. She's now my nephew's plaything. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes were filled with boundless fury and coldness. He was enraged. It was one thing for a madman like General Ying, whose true deity heart was on the verge of collapsing, to think that the venomous Ying world deity would be so protective of him. Perhaps in her eyes she did not hold him in high regard. But that was understandable. As a stage 3 world deity, her actions were even more unbridled. Why would she care about a mere deity like him? Venomous Ying world deity, there are some things that can be done. There are some things that can't be undone once they've been done. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes were filled with killing intent. Ha! A little thing like you dares to act so arrogantly in front of me? So what if you're a realm lord? How far can you cultivate even if you spend your entire life cultivating? The venomous Ying world deity sneered. With a wave of her hand, Jing Qiu, who was standing beside Dongbo Shuiying, flew toward the venomous Ying world deity. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes were filled with fury. Fine. He was not in a rush to reveal himself. Since that was the case, he would ask a powerful existence for help. As a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, he would ask a powerful existence for help. For the sake of preventing others from suspecting him, he would ask his friend, Chihua Laozu, to act. Chihua Laozu had a deep friendship with Sacred Master Crimson Dust, and he had even saved his wife before. If he were to act, he would not arouse any suspicions. Asking a powerful existence for help was too easy. All he had to do was shout out his name. Originally, Dongbo Shuiying was not in a hurry. However, the venomous Ying world deity had truly angered him. Ah! Dongbo, you think you're fit to act so arrogantly in front of me? The silver-robed General Ying was incomparably deranged. Hua hua hua! Suddenly, countless white grains of sand appeared within the palace hall, wreaking havoc within. With a terrifying pressure, they easily enveloped Jing Qiu. Even the venomous Ying world deity's expression changed greatly. She retreated repeatedly, a strange trident appearing in her hands. The countless grains of sand converged to form a plump white-robed man with a curled beard. This plump man stroked his beard and sneered at the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity. Venomous Ying, are you really that arrogant? Chapter 453. The plump man turned to look at Dongbo Shuiying. Brother, with your big brother here, no one can bully you. At the same time, the rescued Jing Qiu ran over to Dongbo Shuiying's side. At this moment, Dongbo Shuiying was filled with gratitude. He did not think that the White Sand City Lord would really help him and the venomous Ying world deity. Although they had been brothers before, Dongbo Shuiying had thought that it was just an ordinary friendship. But now he could stand out and fight. How could Dongbo Shuiying not be grateful? City Lord. Dongbo Shuiying could not help but say. Call me big brother. The plump man glared. Why, are you still treating me like an outsider? Big brother. Dongbo Shuiying said, thank you, otherwise Alright. Let me deal with this bitch first. The plump man stroked his beard and looked at the wary yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity. Venomous Ying, what? Are you still not satisfied? Do you still want to fight? The second prince and the other scions of the rich clans did not utter a word as they watched this scene unfold. The White Sand City Lord and the venomous Ying world deity. These two were absolutely extraordinary existences, and they were famous even within the Kamsi prefecture. It was a rare sight to see two of them fighting head-on. Auntie, the silver-robed General Ying shouted. Shut up. The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity shouted back. The silver-robed General Ying's eyes had long since turned red, and he did not care about anything else. Auntie, we can't let Dongbo off. We must capture his wife. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard and sneered, Tisk. Venomous Ying, your nephew's true deity heart is about to collapse. Wouldn't it be better to find a place to quietly spend the last few days of his life? Also, what are you doing with your poisonous trident? Do you think you can beat me? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you and teach you a good lesson. The venomous Ying world deity gritted her teeth. The two of them specialized in different areas. The venomous Ying world deity's combat power was not strong, and she could only be considered an ordinary stage 3 world deity. The Lord of White Sand City was different. The White Sand City Lord had combined world deity ranked secret techniques to create a terrifying secret skill, the White Sand of Annihilation. This was something he had been pondering over when he was a deity, and he had been studying it for a long time. He had even given himself the title of White Sand. The city he built was also called White Sand City. When the white sand blew, it annihilated all living things. This was an extremely powerful domain-type secret skill. Within the range of the White Sand, ordinary Stage 3 world deities would have to escape with heavy injuries. Even if they could resist the White Sand of Annihilation and fight, they would only be able to exert a portion of their strength. Usually they would be easily trampled by the White Sand City Lord. Therefore, the Master of White Sand City was considered one of the top universe gods in the third heaven. In addition, his body was also the body of White Sand. His ability to survive was extremely strong. That was why the venomous Ying world deity had even called the Calm Sea Prefecture Master Big Brother White Sand, with her lovely voice. Are you really going to protect him? The venomous Ying world deity was somewhat furious. Of course. The White Sand City Lord gave a faint smile. Venomous Ying, listen well. Donghua is my brother, so I will protect him. If you dare bully him in the slightest, don't blame me for being heartless. The venomous Ying world deity gritted her teeth. Turning around, the black stream of energy around her wrapped around the silver-robed General Ying. Let's go. South, bringing General Ying with her, she flew out of the hall. General Ying had a luxurious residence within the Calm Sea Prefecture capital. The venomous Ying world deity descended from the sky with General Ying in tow. As for his servants, she could not be bothered with them. The servants would come running back. Within a luxurious hall, the venomous Ying world deity flew into it. Only then did the black stream of energy around her place General Ying down. Auntie, we can't just let things end like this. The silver-robed General Ying had a savage expression on his face. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, since the White Sand City Lord is helping him, we can find an opportunity to secretly capture Donghua's wife. Shut up. The venomous Ying world deity angrily rebuked. Auntie. General Ying hurriedly grabbed his aunt's hand. If I don't vent this resentment, I won't be satisfied even if I die. The venomous Ying world deity waved her hand and walked out. Hung Long, the doors to the hall closed. The venomous Ying world deity turned her head to look. Countless black streams of energy surrounded the hall, forming a suppressive array. Inside, General Ying was still madly smashing the doors and windows, but with the suppression of the array, he was unable to break through. Capture him, kill him, kill him. He's gone crazy again. A hint of disgust could be seen in the venomous Ying world deity's eyes. She had a selfish nature and was famous for her ruthlessness. In truth, she did not have many friends within the Calm Sea Prefecture. Of course, her elder brother was the personal bodyguard of His Majesty and had considerable influence. Due to her elder brother's relationship with him, the venomous Ying world deity was able to live a relatively good life. As the only son of her elder brother, she still had to take care of him. But in terms of relationship? In truth, she looked down on this nephew of hers. However, to the venomous Ying world deity, anyone who dared to bully her nephew would be not giving her any face. With her cold and stern temperament, she would naturally act. He's gone mad. From time to time he would go completely crazy. The venomous Ying world deity glanced at the hall. General Ying was still madly smashing the doors and howling. It's better for his deity heart to crumble and die earlier. The venomous Ying world deity turned around and walked out. There were guards stationed at the entrance of the hall. Look after the general, the venomous Ying world deity ordered. Yes. The two guards respectfully replied. They looked at the maddened General Ying, and a trace of pity flashed across their eyes. They could tell that General Ying's condition had worsened, and it was likely that his true deity heart would crumble within the next 8 to 10 years. At this point, with both the White Sand City Lord and the venomous Ying world deity directly opposing him, Donghua Shuiying naturally could no longer continue with the banquet. The White Sand City Lord brought Donghua Shuiying and Jingqiu away from the banquet. The second prince even personally sent them off. Brother Donghua, I have no way of dealing with the venomous Ying world deity. You can't blame the second prince for this. I'm already grateful for the second prince stopping General Ying, Donghua Shuiying said. Let's go. The White Sand City Lord, Donghua Shuiying and Jingqiu arced through the sky and left. They flew above the Calm Sea Prefecture city. Donghua Shuiying and Jingqiu were both thanking the White Sand City Lord. The White Sand City Lord laughed. There's no need for the two of you to say anything. Since I've recognized you as my brother, I'll naturally protect you. I'm staying in the Long clan residence, so I naturally had to act the moment I discovered you. In truth, General Ying's true deity heart is about to crumble, and he will occasionally go crazy. Even if he manages to maintain his calm, his thoughts are no longer normal. His temperament cannot be understood with common sense. I've long heard that those who fail to maintain their true deity heart will go crazy, and that their true deity heart will crumble very soon. Dongbo Shuang sighed. But who would have thought that he would lose his rationality and become so crazy? There was a process to becoming crazy. From normal rationality, one would gradually turn into a madman. General Ying would go crazy when he maintained his calm, but the moment he lost his cool, he would go crazy. Have you seen it this time? The White Sand City Lord teased. Yes. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Although he knew a lot of common sense and the artifact spirit Crimson Rock had told him a lot of information, he still could not imagine it without seeing it with his own eyes. A deity who was slowly going crazy and on the verge of death would become so crazy. Remember, no one can predict what a dying deity or world deity will do, the White Sand City Lord said. The stronger a world deity is, the more vigilant one must be when they are about to go crazy. I understand. Dongbo Shuang nodded. However, those who go crazy are usually deities or weaker world deities. Powerful world deities will usually choose to seal their memories and reincarnate when they feel that something is amiss. The White Sand City Lord continued, without the influence of their past, they will begin a brand new life. If they do not die and become a deity, they will awaken their memories and have a brand new life. Their state of mind will become much more clear. Dongbo Shuang nodded. All of this was still very far away from him. General Ying, you can ignore this matter. He is most likely not far from death. However, you must be careful of that venomous Ying woman, the White Sand City Lord said. Dongbo Shuang furrowed his brows. She is selfish by nature and she will never forget anyone who offends her. The moment she gets the chance, she will definitely act against you, the White Sand City Lord said. Of course, you can be at ease during the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. However, I can't always be by your side in the future. If she sets her sights on you, it is best to be careful. I understand. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Venomous Ying? He actually wanted to forcefully take away his wife to be a plaything for his nephew? Dongbo Shuang's heart was immediately filled with killing intent. However, he understood that even if he were to ask the powerful existence Chihua Laozu to act, he would only be able to save his wife. It was unlikely that he would kill the venomous Ying world deity. Powerful existences had extremely high statuses, and without any special reason, they would not kill a world deity. Venomous Ying, just you wait. Dongbo Shuang only hid his killing intent. Chapter 454. In the quiet room of the cave residence. Dongbo Shuang sat cross-legged on a cushion. His eyes closed as he tried to comprehend the profound mysteries of the spear art in his mind. It was not just his avatar. Even his true body in the distant material world of the Xia people was meditating as well. As a world deity, his true body had already grasped hold of the world deity heart, and he was currently focusing all his attention on the chaotic deity heart. The 3-year period is almost up. Dongbo Shuang opened his eyes. I've practiced my spear art countless times and practiced it countless times. I've also tried deducing the laws of profound mysteries, but this chaotic deity heart always feels like it's separated by a thin veil. It's misty. I can see it, but it's always a bit blurry. In the past 3 years, my chaotic hole suppression hasn't improved much. Instead, my other mystic techniques have improved a lot. Dongbo Shuang couldn't help but laugh. The main reason was that he had spent too much effort on chaos hole suppression in the past. No matter how much he improved, it was still very, very small. On the other hand, he spent some time perfecting his other secret skills, especially the Star Meteor Annihilation. To be precise, this move should be renamed as the Chaotic Hole Extreme Strike. Its might was getting stronger. 3 years was too short for a god. The entire Kamsi Prefecture city was once again bustling with noise and excitement. The myriad flower feast selections, the arena battles, were about to begin. It was different from the previous ranking battles, which were not open to the public. The last 2 rounds of the survival battle were open to the public, allowing the humans and the experts of other races to come and watch. Step back. Step back. Within the Bloodshed region, the army soldiers were maintaining order. The Kamsi Prefecture Master and Monarch Imo Shui were seated on the magnificent platform, and beneath them were the White Sand City Lord, the Ink Cloud City Lord, Marshal Qin, the venomous Ying World Deity, King Ronghai, and the emissary from the Bloodshed God Palace. Below the high platform sat 1,000 experts. They were none other than Dongbo Shuang, 7th Meiyu, and the rest of the top 1,000 rankers in the ranking battle. Brother White Sand. King Ronghai boorishly said. He looked at the White Sand City Lord beside him. I heard that not long ago you fought with the venomous Ying? You almost fought him? The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity, who was seated across from him, pretended to be pitiful and said, Isn't that so? That little brother of his was called Dong Bo, and he was precisely that brat who obtained first place in the ranking battle. He actually beat my nephew. I just wanted to help my nephew vent his anger, but I didn't expect Brother Baisha to be so ruthless and want to protect his little brother. I'm not Brother Baisha's opponent, so I can only endure it. White venomous venerable King Venomous. That's right. Old Brother White Sand Venomous Ying is so delicate. For you to bully her, makes my heart ache, King Ronghai teased. The Lord of White Sand City glanced at the two women. The White. TSK. When are you going to taste her voodoo poison? Let's see if you can still call her weak. The one I can't afford to offend the most is Big Brother Ronghai. He has cultivated his body to such a level that my hexing poison is completely useless against him, the venomous Ying world deity said. As for the emissary, do you think I would dare to act against him? What do you venomous Ying not dare to do? Marshal Qin sneered. You even dare to act against Monarch Puzong, so who wouldn't dare? Also, I've only heard of your nephew bullying others in the Kamsi prefecture. Who would dare to bully your nephew? In my opinion, you should watch over him. The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity frowned. She looked at Marshal Qin, but she did not say anything. The Kamsi prefecture master and Monarch Mo Shui were watching from above. Old Dragon. Monarch Mo Shui stroked his snow-white beard. Of the Stage 3 world deities of your Kamsi prefecture, who do you think will become a Stage 4 world deity and inherit the position of prefecture master? Mo Yun. The Kamsi prefecture master beamed. Mo Yun became a world deity in 10,000 years, a Stage 2 world deity in 300,000 years, and a Stage 3 world deity in 10 million years. His talent is overflowing, and his rate of improvement is close to that of some grade 1 true meaning transcendence. I think highly of him, but he still needs to be tempered. In terms of experience, he's still lacking compared to White Sand and Marshal Wu. Both of them have cultivated for billions of years and have cultivated their own powerful secret skills. It's just that White Sand and Marshal Wu have remained stagnant at the Stage 3 world deity, with no hope of breaking through. No hope of breaking through? Monarch Mo Shui nodded. I too have no hope of breaking through. I can't struggle out of my shackles and jump out of the river of time. True eternity. I don't know if I'll be able to survive this reincarnation. Reincarnation. The Kamsi prefecture master sighed. Brother Mo Shui, I might have to walk this path in the future. Sealing one's memories to reincarnate would leave one with no memories of their previous life, and even their souls would be weakened to the extreme, leaving only a bit of spirituality. All advantages would be given up. Wanting to live on and become a deity? The possibility was very low. Many Stage 4 world deities chose to reincarnate, but in the end there was no news of them. Don't give up. Until the very last moment, there's still a chance of taking that final step. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. If you succeed, you must take care of my daughters. Aha, if I succeed, this is a small matter. The Kamsi prefecture master's eyes were filled with expectation. In terms of strength, the two of them were very close to the level of powerful existences. However, if they could not jump out of the river of time and struggle out of its shackles, they would forever sink into oblivion, unable to transcend eternity. My previous attempt failed. It seems that I'll have to make a trip to Moonstar, the Kamsi prefecture master muttered to himself. I must give it a try. Prefecture master. The emissary stood up. It's about time. Shall I begin? Only then did the Kamsi prefecture master stop thinking about it. Begin. Dongbo Shuiying and the others sat down one after another. To their north was an arena that was 5,000 kilometers long and wide. The arena was surrounded by spectators who had rushed over from all directions. Jingqiu, the Xia people, and the other deities had also come to spectate. The second round of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast will now officially begin. The emissary walked to the edge of the high platform and looked into the distance. His voice reverberated throughout the world, and as his gaze swept across, the countless deities did not dare to raise their heads to look at him. The first round will be Dongboi against Yen Feng. Begin. Immediately, the countless spectators went into an uproar. Dongboi. First place in the ranking battle. Yen Feng. The 1000th place in the ranking battle. The strongest and the weakest. That Yen Feng sure is pitiful. If Dongbua can be ranked first, how can they let him compete with the second place in the arena battle? Normally they would choose to compete with those ranked lower than them, but who would have thought that he would be ranked last? There's no suspense in this match. Let's see just how powerful this Dongbua is. He must have some tricks up his sleeve to be ranked first. Everyone was filled with anticipation. None of them had any doubts about the outcome of this match. They were all certain that Dongbua Shuaying would emerge victorious. However, almost none of them had ever seen Dongbua Shuaying fight before. After all, only a minority had seen the scene of the Mountain Wu Starfield selections. Furthermore, that match had been far too simple. It had only been a single move. Dongbua Shuaying stood up and walked towards the arena. Elsewhere, a white-haired man wearing a gray cloak was frowning. He had to fight Dongbua, who was ranked first in his very first match. He felt somewhat depressed. Chapter 455. Second round. Stepping onto the arena. Dongbua Shuaying calmly stood there, while the gray-cloaked, white-haired man also stepped onto the arena. Greetings, Dongbo. Please be lenient. This person called Yin Feng immediately bowed. Dongbua Shuaying was slightly startled, but he calmly replied, "Life and death are decided in an arena battle. No mercy is allowed. Please don't blame me." Yin Feng laughed awkwardly. What a joke. On average, not even one Starfield could rank within the top 1,000 of the ranking battles in the entire Kamsi prefecture. How could he be careless when facing such an expert? What if he was too careless and got hit? I never thought that this kid, who has only cultivated for 2,000 years, wouldn't have the slightest bit of arrogance in a place like the Myriad Flower Feast? Although Yin Feng appeared embarrassed, he was secretly calculating in his heart. He had originally planned to use his opponent's arrogance to gain an opportunity. After all, being able to rank within the top 1,000 meant that his strength was close to the threshold of a world deity. He was much stronger than the red-haired man Shui Yun and the others. Both of you get ready. A golden-armored general below the arena activated the spirit array. A huge ceiling spirit array formed around the arena. It was like a cover that covered the entire arena. There was also an hourglass in the arena. There was sand of time in the hourglass. Begin, the golden-armored general commanded. Shwa shwa shwa. The man called Yin Feng instantly unsheathed his blade. One after another, figures attacked Dongbua Shuaying from different directions. A total of 7 Yin Fengs attacked Dongbua Shuaying with different blade techniques. Humph! The great chaotic true force within Dongbua Shuaying's body surged. With a sweep of his spear, the surrounding area sunk into darkness and began to collapse. The surging power directly shattered the 7 Yin Fengs. This was not a ranking battle where the opponent's strength would gradually increase. This was a true arena battle where one's life was at stake. Dongbua Shuaying immediately used his great chaotic true force, followed by a secret skill. With a single move, the surrounding space sunk into darkness, shattering everything. I admit defeat. Yin Feng, who was standing on the spot, shouted without hesitation as his heart trembled at the scene before him. In front of Dongbua Shuaying, the area of a few hundred li around him had completely collapsed. That terrifying might was enough to make one's heart tremble. Moreover, he had already experienced it with his Wind Shadow incarnation. Although his Wind Shadow incarnation wasn't as strong as his main body, it still had 50% of its strength. The 7 Wind Shadow incarnations were annihilated without even touching the spear. How powerful was that? It was far beyond the threshold of a world deity. Yin Feng admits defeat. Dongbo is victorious. The golden-armored general shouted from below. The outcome of the arena battle would either be decided by one side admitting defeat or one side dying in battle. He admitted defeat just like that? You haven't done anything yet, have you? That Yin Feng seems to be at the same spot. Did he just test it out? You're scared? He admitted defeat too quickly. Countless onlookers were discussing spiritedly. Idiot. What an idiot. He admitted defeat before even exchanging blows. Amidst the crowd of onlookers, there was a group of soldiers protecting a silver-robed youth. It was none other than the cold-faced General Ying. After 3 years, although the look in General Ying's eyes had become even more terrifying and evil, he was still able to maintain a basic level of calmness. Is there no one stronger enough to defeat this Dongbua? Can't you at least let him suffer a little? General Ying was very displeased. He was targeting Dongbua Shuaying. The main reason was that Dongbua Shuaying was too famous and he was too young. Anyone could see that Dongbo Shuiying had a bright future ahead of him. However, General Ying was already at the end of his life. His power did not come from his own strength or potential. Instead, it came from his father's protection. This made General Ying even more displeased, and he disliked Dongbo Shuiying even more. Beautiful. Amazing. Dongbo is truly amazing. We didn't even get to fight, but he was already so scared that he admitted defeat. The deities of the Xia people as well as Jingqiu were watching happily. They were all seated in a corner of the crowd. Dongbo is truly amazing. Yan Feng is ashamed of his inferiority, Yan Feng said as he bowed. Your strength isn't bad either. Your cloning techniques are quite impressive. Dongbo Shuiying praised. This was the truth. Yan Feng's 7 clones had all surpassed the limits of the deity realm, so he would probably be able to defeat the fierce shaman warrior within 10 moves. After exchanging a few words, the two walked off the stage and returned to their respective seats. The second match, the emissary continued. Drunk guest against Murong Qing. Dongbo Shuiying returned to his seat. Congratulations Dongbo, 7th Meiyu said from the side. It's a bit easier against the last ranked opponent. I'm guessing that you'll be in a similar situation. Dongbo Shuiying said with a smile. At the same time he turned his gaze to the distant stage, where Drunk Guest and Murong Qing were fighting. Drunk Guest was dressed in green robes. He looked rather old and he carried a sword on his back. Of course, one couldn't judge one's age on the surface. In reality, Drunk Guest had only cultivated for 20,000 years. Both sides quickly exchanged blows. It was almost a repeat of the previous match. Both sides had barely exchanged blows before it ended. However, in this battle the one called Murong Qing had died. Killed with a single sword. What a fast sword. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes narrowed. He immediately felt threatened. What a terrifying sword. Amazing. 7th Meiyu was also shocked. Both of them were a little stunned. 7th Meiyu was an expert in sword techniques. Her sword was fast and straightforward, and her sword technique was incomparably perfect. As for Drunk Guest, his sword was even simpler. It seemed to be a single move. It wasn't complicated at all. But a single move was extremely powerful. Split the heavens? Dongbo Shuiying muttered. Yes, split the heavens. 7th Meiyu nodded. It feels like the split the heavens deity heart. Although he had read about the Starfield preliminaries, Drunk Guest had only casually struck the fierce shaman warrior with his sword during the Starfield preliminaries, and the fierce shaman warrior had shattered. He hadn't used any sword techniques at all. But in this arena battle, he had revealed some of his true abilities. His sword techniques have already become one, transforming into a single sword. No matter who comes, it's just a single sword. It's like splitting the heavens and splitting the earth. Just a single move, and the enemy won't be able to defend against it. 7th Meiyu sighed. His sword techniques have already reached such a level. I have a feeling that he should be able to grasp the grade 1 deity heart, the split the heavens deity heart at any time. An expert. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. Although he was ranked higher than him in the ranking battles, he was probably only slightly better than him. Perhaps it was because of his time immemorial body. He had to admit that his world deity heart far surpassed his opponents. His world deity heart was definitely far superior to his opponents. Over the years, his world deity heart had already begun to form a secret technique. However, his chaotic whole deity heart was still slightly inferior to Drunk Guest's split the heavens deity heart. The contrast was very strong. After seeing him shatter the fierce shaman warrior with the flat of his sword during the Starfield selections, I thought that he specialized in strength as well. But now, it seems that his sword techniques are even more terrifying. Dongbo Shuiying had to admit that if they were to fight on the arena, it would be hard to say who would emerge victorious. So, the third match began. In the third match, Jiushi, who was ranked 3rd, was going to fight. Jiushi was different from Dongbo Shuiying and Drunk Guest. Dongbo Shuiying and Drunk Guest hadn't cultivated for a long time, but Jiushi had cultivated for more than 5 million years. Too powerful. This is simply... He seems to be even stronger than Dongbo and Drunk Guest. The moment Jiushi made his move, the countless spectators went into an uproar. Dongbo Shuiying and 7th Meiyu were also shocked. Because as Jiushi stood there, the entire arena was filled with countless Jioshis the moment the battle began, each of them waving their palms furiously. With just a single palm strike, countless Jioshi slashed downwards, and the area where the opponent was located was instantly annihilated. This included the opponent who didn't even have the time to admit defeat. Jioshi's white hair, white clothes, and white eyebrows fluttered in the wind. Standing on the arena, he looked down at Dongbu Shuiying and drunk guest and grinned. First place in the ranking battles? But that didn't mean that his strength was number one. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.